request our chairman CA Subbarao Mupalla, secretary CA Pramod Ramohan Hegde to kindly escort our esteemed speaker CA Sathyabhama to the dais. Good morning to the respected dignitaries on the dais, distinguished speakers and esteemed members of the Chartered Accountancy profession and dear participants. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to today's professional program organized by the SIRC of ICI. Today's program holds special significance as we celebrate International Women's Day, inspired by the fearless message of Mahakavi Bharatiyar's Achamillai, symbolizing courage, strength and determination, a day that recognizes the strength, resilience and remarkable contributions of women across professions and society. In the Chartered Accountancy profession as well, women continue to inspire with their leadership, expertise and commitment to excellence. So with this positive spirit, we begin today's program, which promises insightful technical sessions and valuable discussions. So on behalf of the Women's Members Excellence Committee, I extend a warm and heartfelt welcome to each one of you. So we shall now begin the program with ICA motto song, celebrating the spirit and values of the Chartered Accountancy profession. So I request everyone to kindly rise for the invocation, motto song.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्मिमाणः निर्मिमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यति कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Thank you. Lighting the lamp symbolizes the removal of darkness and the spread of knowledge. So may I now request our esteemed dignitaries on the dais to kindly come forward for the lighting of the traditional lamp. Thank you to our dignitaries for lighting the lamp and setting for today's knowledge sharing session. Welcome ma'am, CA Rekha Umashu, RCM SIRC ICI. I now invite CA Subbarao Mupalla, Chairman SIRC of ICI, to deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, Secretary Pramod Hegde and Regional Council colleague Rekha Umashiv and the resource person Sathyabhama Madam, members and students, a very good morning to all of you. I have great pleasure to associate and be part of this Women's Day program organized by SIRC. Let me at the very outset greet in advance each one of you on the happy occasion of International Women's Day. A happy Women's Day to you all. I hope, in my personal view, no separate Women's Day is necessary because every day is yours only. I thank Sri Priya Kumar, Vice Chairperson of Women Members Excellence Committee, for granting this seminar for organizing in SIRC. I am happy to inform you that coinciding with the occasion of SIRC is organizing a free eye test camp concurrently with this program in ICA Bhavan only as a part of our CSR activity. We also have interesting and informative topics being presented by eminent professionals in the technical sessions and healthcare session on yoga and nutrition. Women are the integral part of any institution. They have remarkably been contributing to the growth of diverse spheres. That is why we say women, the power to create, nurture and transform. Today, our women members in our profession constitute around 30% of the total membership of ICI, and our students, there are 45% of women students are female students. Recently also, in our CA final examination, Miss Diksha Goyal, women student, got the first All India first rank, securing 81% of marks. If you educate a man and you educate an individual only, but if you educate a woman, then you are educating a family and a generation. That is the power of women. I once again have a great pleasure to extend on behalf of SIRC and on my personal behalf my warm greetings to all of you women members on this International Women's Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now invite CA Rekha Umashiv, RCM SIRC, to give few words.
A very good morning to one and all. Firstly, a very happy Women's Day to all the women members and to all the male who are supporting our female counterparts here. Very, very happy to be standing here amidst all of you. And I think firstly, Sathyabhama ma'am, very happy to have you here amidst us as one of our speakers. So today morning when I was getting ready for this function, my son, who is now a teenager, he just came and asked me like, Mom, there is always inequality. Okay. So I was just surprised and I asked, why? What is happening? There's nothing like that. Yes, every year I see you going for Women's Day here and there, but I never hear anything like Men's Day. We don't have a Men's Day. I said, who said? We do have on November. Did you check the calendars? Did you check the time when is the International Men's Day celebrated? There is nothing like that, I said. He said, yes, there is something like that. That is the difference. We women always fight for our rights. We know where to project ourselves. We know how to empower ourselves and we celebrate ourselves. Even there is something called as a Men's Day, but I don't know how many of you men out here know that when the Women's Day is. It is not just because of equality factor. It is just because we try to celebrate each and every moment that is given to us. We try to empower ourselves and enrich ourselves. So I think this is one thing. When I just was about to come, he gave me this insight and it sounded very funny. Actually, a few days back, one lady member, she came and asked me this one question. Ma'am, it's very difficult to balance everything. Very difficult to balance. She asked me like, how do you, I mean, not me, in general, all the members in the council or any chartered accountant for that matter, how do you balance things? I don't find anything called as consistency. So I was just giving her a small discussion. We had a discussion. So I asked her, ma'am, what do you do? So she is in industry. She is in one of the leadership positions. And she said, yes, I am in so-and-so company. So who all are there in your family? So I have my husband, 2 kids. So is your in-laws or parents with you? I don't have any support system, but all my in-laws and parents are in the same city. So we do visit them on weekends, or when they are in need, we do definitely go support them. And they are also same way, weekends or monthly visits are there. And if somebody falls sick, definitely we'll be there in the first row to support them. Then I said, just what are your hobbies? So she was telling there is no time for hobbies as such, but I do read books whenever I get time, and on and off. It is not like regular. I go for walks with my neighbors. So sometimes I go, sometimes I don't go. And moment I come back from office, I sit with my kids to teach them. And my husband doesn't like to eat from outside, so mostly cooking is done by me. But though I have some domestic help to help me with the cooking, I mean washing and cleaning and mopping and everything. Okay, then I was asking any other hobbies or what you do. Yeah, I did a course last year and I cleared a certificate course, of course, and all those things chit-chat went. So I was just asking, so what do you exactly mean by consistency? I'm not able to do everything same day as I expect. I think of a plan, but it never comes. In reality, it takes a different turn. I said, you are very much consistent in my opinion. Consistency doesn't mean you have to do everything the same amount, the same every day. That is called discipline. Discipline gives ways to consistency, but doesn't mean you have to be consistent doing everything equally the same way. You are a mother. You are a household. You keep your household very well. You are working. As you said, you are in one of the leadership positions, and it is not easy for a woman to make it there. You take a good hold on your career. You are financially independent. You do take walks with your neighbors, though it may not be every day, but you still make an effort to do that. You still network, and you also make sure that you read here and there, and you do certifications, you keep yourself updated. What more you expect than this as a consistency? I think this, every woman out here, will you be able to relate to this? More or less, we are going through the same phase here. So I think it is not about what consistency, you have to do everything, the same thing, the same way. It is about you make it without giving it up. So I think every woman here, I think you may agree, sometimes I think some will choose to differ also. I read it somewhere like women always mature by damage than by age. It is not by age that we mature. It is the damage, the humiliation, the disrespect, what all we incur on a daily basis that helps us mold and groom to what we are today. So on this behalf, wishing each and every woman who is trying to be a superwoman, though that is not required. We have heard that our mothers were superwomen. It is not required as of now. We don't have to glorify burnout. And on this note, I would like to end and wish each and every woman out here a very, very wonderful Women's Day, and keep rocking and keep reaching your heights. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for making us more proud. Yeah. So, as a token of our respect and appreciation, I invite CA Subbarao Muppala, Chairman SIRC of ICI, to hand over the memento to the speaker of the session, CA Sathyabhama. So, introduction of the speaker. CA Sathyabhama is a chartered accountant and certified information system auditor with more than 2 decades of experience in internal audits, information system audit, consulting, process improvement, and design and testing of controls under the Sarbanes-Oxley Act. She is also a certified SAP professional and ISO 27001 implementer and holds a diploma in IFRS from ACCA UK. Her professional experience spans across various industry sectors, working with medium and large organizations, including multinational companies, particularly in ERP environments. Beyond her professional pursuit, she enjoys traveling and is an enthusiastic movie lover. So we now move to the first technical session. The topic of the session is Controls, Forensic Audit and Opportunities. To share her expertise on this subject, we are privileged to have with us CA Sathyabhama ma'am. Is well known for her professional expertise and practical insights in this domain. So I invite CA Sathyabhama to take over the session. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a privilege to be speaking on Women's Day. I've always glorified this day and have always looked up to women achievers. So thank you, SIRC, for giving me an opportunity to share what little knowledge I've gathered over the years on this day. So when I was given this topic, Controls, Forensics and Opportunities, I was in two minds. I wasn't sure whether we were supposed to talk about opportunities for women in this area, or are we going to have it as a technical session? But again, it was insisted as a technical session. But I've tried to balance it both ways, because early morning technical session and that too on controls and forensics, I'm trying to mix and match both here. Okay, so bear with me. I might have to sort of switch slides in between. So the consistency in terms of presentation may not be there. I'm just, so bear with me on that also. So first of all, thank you. About my personal experience about controls, I'm pretty passionate about it. I have spent nearly 20 years on controls, and I feel that we still, especially in India, we still are a long way to go from where we could call ourselves a control-aware professional or a control-aware environment. It's the entire system per se, and what little accuracy or what little professional expertise in controls that we do have is largely driven by, it's a very unfortunate thing to say, largely driven by the US companies because of their Sarbanes-Oxley Act. And of course, we, as you very well know, India, we are a very big source of outsourced service provider, both in auditing and accounting. And so from that, we have inherited or imbibed, I would say, a lot of the accuracy and precision. That's the main thing, accuracy and precision in testing of controls and understanding of controls, which is what is expected by the Western world. And I think that is also very important because it drives us towards a very precise and a very functioning control environment with no, round edges. So it gives a lot of precision. Again, that's a word I love in control testing. So precision and a sense of awareness and how we escalate to a strategy. So control testing is actually a stepping stone to develop an overall strategy about how the environment functions and what are all the risks that need to take. So if you see, though we talk about just controls, I have mentioned here risks and controls. So that's the background here. Because there is no control without risk. There is no need for a control without a risk, in fact. So if you see overall risk management per se, it's only been talked about really much, even globally and also particularly in India, more so in the past decade and more specifically in the past 5 years, where the awareness has actually increased a lot. This is no means, this largely I would say thanks to the environment currently that we are in, the kind of fluid environment, socio-political environment, economic environment they are thrown to, where risk has now become a daily subject matter in all boardrooms and all executive discussions. Because every day there is a new risk which comes up. Some of them we've not even thought of in the last 2 decades or something. So every day it's redefining what is our perception of risk, what is the risk that the organization has to go through, and how are we prepared to meet all of this. So that is where risk management has really evolved. So if you see, largely it was a behind the scenes function. Now it's become a critical driver in the organization. And if you see, increasingly, especially in the last 3-4 years, even we are a mid-level firm, so even we have got a lot of queries about enterprise risk management. And thanks to largely also the Companies Act, the government enforcing a lot of things through Companies Act. Like for example, IFC was the first one, and then the whistleblower policies and all that, and the mandatory risk register, especially for listed companies. So these have also gone a long way in increasing the risk and control consciousness in the Indian corporate, and consequently, of course, all the service providers, especially chartered accountants like us. Just like I have already told you, that Sarbanes-Oxley was the precursor globally itself to initiate a conversation and an entire ecosystem and specialization around risk and control. So they were the precursor. They started in 2002, as most of you know. But if you see, this was reflected across the globe, and JSOX and Korean SOX, they are also very strictly followed and with equal vigor, I would say. And in India, we have the ICFR, which came in 2016, but it still has a long way to go to achieve in terms of what the control consciousness was expected. And it still largely remains, except for a few exceptions. I mean, this is again my personal experience. Do feel free to contest this opinion if you can, if you would. So the thing is, in Indian corporates, again, majority, except for few large corporates, or you would say even in medium corporates, the control consciousness is largely driven by the top management. In most other cases, it is something like it's the responsibility of the statutory auditor, because we have to sign off on 143.3. So that's how it's functioning largely. And we, as I feel, as a profession, also have not really tried to push the envelope back into management and say, this is what is expected of you, don't come back to me. For us, it's now become more of a compliance point. I see, especially in the last 2 years and after NFRA also, there has been some change. So if you see this control environment, control consciousness, risk, everything is largely driven by statutes and statutory requirements rather than an internal process evolvement, which is very rare. It happens in some companies, but mostly it doesn't. The other more important aspect is now increasingly you have cyber threats and privacy laws, and your BFSI sector is again a major a contributor, you would say, to the control environment here. So consequently, if you see, career opportunities are also much higher in these environments rather than your traditional manufacturing setups. Okay. So again, to go through in India, if you see, again, the GCC again has been again a major contributor in enforcing, or rather could say in improving our proficiency around controls and risk measurements. Particularly the last, again, the 3-4 years or the 5 years has made a major impact. And this was some interesting information that I got again from the net, which says when you talk about the cities where GCCs are set up, Bangalore, of course, is there. But the kind of GCCs, again, they can be functional GCCs is there. So in Bangalore, if you see, it's largely technology and product development. Hyderabad is IT and analytics. Gurugram, consulting and banking. But Chennai, if you see, is the hotbed for finance, accounting, audit and risk operations. Of course, it is spread across, but if you see the number of GCCs where this is a focus area, Chennai tops the list. So that way, we do have a lot of opportunities in terms of development as a career in the GCC path towards control, in a career as a control professional. So this is just a list again I took. If you see again, most of the GCC setup and which are again driving your control proficiency is your either from the NBFC sides, largely international banks and international finance institutions, or again, if you want to go beyond that, you have companies like Caterpillar, Pfizer, again international institutions which are driving it. Good in a way, because we benchmark now at an international level, have an opportunity to grow our proficiency at an international level. So again, the opportunity wise, if you also see, there is, apart from the entry level work as a tester, okay, for control testing, there is an opportunity. I'm again largely talking about industry and GCC. I have not come to practice. Practice is a whole new animal on its own. So if you see here, apart from the entry-level testing, what is the career path? Where can I really reach up to in the risk and control setup? Is you can, there is something called controllership. So that is mostly president, vice president levels in most of these institutions. And if you're really good and you're able to develop the strategic thinking part, you are also considered as a CFO or a CEO. So that is as high as you can go in most of these organizations. And Indian organizations also, to a large extent, especially IT and service environments, are also mirroring this thought process. Of course, the catch is that you don't give your basic, whatever controls you do, you don't give your basic bread and butter knowledge and expertise on hardcore accounting and finance and taxation. So that the challenge here in this career is that you always keep developing this basic knowledge and superimpose your control expertise on that. So you can't do this without the other. The reason I'm saying is, especially in the last 2 months, I've had the experience of having to interview about nearly 10 people who are in this arena as control professionals. Some of them have joined these or taken up these roles immediately after clearing their CA. I find that there is a total lack of depth of knowledge, both as a control professional as well as our core CA domains. So, which is actually something really very sad. One attitude is also especially among the youngsters, is also that it's a higher paying job and supposedly lesser pressure. And so they choose to take it without really understanding the depth that is required in a control testing. Simple example, there was one interview where I had this person was again doing a lot of testing for again a US company. So he says he's done a lot of testing around inventory controls. So when you talk about inventory and controls, the first thing that comes up is physical inventory controls, right? So we went around talking to him. So what are the kind of physical inventory controls you have done? Okay, bear in mind that he has never done physical inventory at all. He's never done stock take in his entire life. He's not gone to a factory. He's not gone to a godown, done a stock take. Okay. So whatever he is doing is highly theoretical, and whatever are the controls which are in place is again something which has been given to him by the company as such, because it's tried and tested, and somebody has done all these risk and control matrices for him to test. Okay. So when I ask him, okay, you go to the field, so what typically would be the various risk or what can go wrong factors when you do a stock audit? Okay, he's only able to come up with one answer: difference between book and physical. So again, what are the root causes? Zero answer. But you ask him to talk about controls, he talks for half an hour. Okay, that doesn't work. It's all jargons basically. So his jargons which is picked up from the RCMs. So that is something that we really have to guard against when we have to take a career in controllership, because the depth of knowledge is what really and what everybody appreciates, because of two reasons. One is the intensity of your testing, the accuracy and the precision comes only from our deep knowledge. And two is the way forward from developing as a control tester to a risk management professional to a controllership and a strategist happens because we are able to think risk, we are able to design controls around those risks. And this happens, of course, with the field experience. But if that is the ultimate goal, then obviously our benchmark should be much, much higher. And this again, as a CA professional, because we have undergone articleship training and we are entrenched in the grassroots work because of our audit requirements also, we are actually very apt to do it. But we should not lose sight that physical experience is very, very important to develop our understanding of risk and develop the understanding of controls itself. Typically, for example, you ask any professional, what are the risks in accounts payable? Right. Immediate thing is, of course, duplicate payment. Now, in the context of an AI or a data analytics tool that is already there, you would not be really doing the analysis for duplicate payment. But you need to understand why this has happened and try to fix, do the root cause analysis and give a solution fix for this. So that is where our expertise would come. So that is something that I really wanted to tell and share because I've been in this business for some time. So I've just sort of put in this, what are all the other opportunities when you talk about controls and when you talk about risk. So sort of boxed it wherever possible. So like I've told you, the very first one is, of course, internal controls and SOX testing. Here again, two things are important, and again, if you see, that is the impetus that we are getting from our regulators also. One is control documentation. So it's not enough that you understand what is the risk, test the controls, but you also need to document them properly. That is a major failing that we have. Because one is, of course, we are inherently, we always play around with the numbers, and we do a lot of number crunching and data analysis there. But finally, when it comes to documentation in terms of why this is required, who has done it, what has actually gone wrong, or what is actually required, those kind of, because control testing, the precision of control testing, which was the word I talked about, also requires 5 elements for us to understand and work on. The 5 elements are typically, I remember it as 4 W's and 1 H. Okay, so first is who is doing the control, and what is the control, and where is the control being performed. Where meaning whether it is done in the system, whether it is done outside the system. So that is very important. And again, whether it is being done at the junior level, or it is the control being done at a senior level. Example, MIS is a good control, which is done at a top management level, right? Okay, inputs can be fed in by, again, analysts or junior analysts or senior analysts, but ultimately the MIS as a control is done at a senior management level. So that is important. And then, so I said who, where, why of the control is where we really understand the risk. So most of the time what is happening is, when we are doing risk and control matrix, which we are mandated to do now as per ICFR, we miss out the why, or the why is wrongly captured. And obviously because of that, the control is again not properly addressed. So those W's. And then how is the control actually performed? So for example, let us say this, the example of accounts payable, dedupe check. So who does the check? How is the control performed? Is it again done in the system, or when the AP person is actually passing the invoice or making the payment voucher, does he actually cross check with go into the client, customer or vendor ledger and actually see whether a similar transaction has happened or not? So whether it is manual, whether it is system, and what are the other checks and balances to ensure that I don't skip this particular check which is mandatory. So those 5 document, so this is very critical. These 4 W's and this H is very critical for our understanding of what is a risk and what is a control, and also very important to be documented properly. So how did I check all of these things is very, very important. And there is this concept, of course, of how you test a control. So I just thought I'll bring in a little bit of that. So there are 4 methods which is understood globally that this is how you can test a control, right? So one is inquiry. You just go, you talk to them, which is what we normally do. And typically in start audit, you try to first understand the process so that the numbers make sense to you. You go and talk to the person. So you don't necessarily, so the next one is observation. So you see them performing the control. Okay, like for example, you take part in the physical verification or the stock take. So that you see them doing the control. And then the third one is examination, which is what we largely do through our substantive testing or control or vouching, which is your examination of all the relevant documents. And this happens in each and every area of both stat audit, internal audit, whatever we do, right? So here, again, the kind of documentation that we require would be very precise and very, very relevant to that control. Like for example, approval, most of the time the major problem we will face is in approval documentation. The Indians are generally not imbibed, to write down a lot of stuff. Generally, inherently per se, we don't really document much. So if you see, for example, we say that there is a control, for example, approval of an expense. Especially in SMEs, this happens that the approval is done orally, or it is done not even by mail. You just give the details to them and then somebody proceeds based on that. So it's not really an approval in the sense that we expect. So what is the challenge for us when we go as a internal control specialist or a risk management expert? We go and tell the client, okay, so what is the documentation required? He says, no, yeah, I can't go around writing. Don't expect me to send approved for each and every transaction that you bring to me for approval. That's not going to be possible. So what is the suggestion that we are going to give here, which is practical as well as something which can address the risk and the requirements of the IFC where documentation is required. So this is our major challenge in this case, right? So, and the second is, during this process, we hope to also educate the client to please do more documentation. Okay. So wherever this is not happening, actually, if you see, the PCOB alerts and their guidances also gives us a workaround. What is a workaround? There is an understanding of the control. You document the understanding. And two is, you see who is the appropriateness of the person performing the control. Consistency. So we need to take over a period, we need to see whether all these things are approved or not. So we pick up a couple of transactions, maybe engage with the client and see how is it that you're satisfying yourself that there is no hanky-panky in this, because you're just giving an oral approval. What are the things that you're looking into when you're looking before giving an oral approval? So you try to understand the mindset of the approver in this case, document that, and then you, wherever whatever evidences you're getting, now this becomes a corroborative evidence for all this process. So that's one way we can actually circumvent and protect ourselves as an auditor or as a control specialist. Though of course typical textbook thing and the westernized PCOB or other MNC expectation is that there are documented approvals always available. So one way, of course, if you have the systems, resources and the money to do that, you have an approval workflow put in. So this can also be done through our emails, which we use on a regular basis, but we don't explore the email options much. An approval matrix can be put there, where you have certain specific templates and certain workflows can be built in for certain things so that it always goes to the next level. And that can be driven that way. Or some small, and especially with the advent of AI, and so there are low-cost solutions which enable you to do the approval matrix, and it is all recorded again. So those are low-cost solutions. AI-based are something again that we can look at. And of course, when you take into consideration any AI solution in any area of finance or accounting, another aspect that you should always look at is the reliability of the vendor, the confidentiality and availability of the data, and our agreements should be done in such a way to protect ourselves on all of this. So that's always there. Okay, anyway, the next one is global internal audit function. It's just an extension of the controls. So whatever is so if you actually see, controls are a subset of internal audit. In internal audit, we do both process-oriented as well as transaction-oriented work, whereas in control, you focus more on the process, right? So that is there, and of course data analytics, which you can use in internal audit functions. Enterprise risk management, like I said, it's become a big thing right now, and it's justified also. So where you have a risk register built up, and the way we do the risk registers is very, very interesting because the framework in fact mandates that the risk register should be bottom up, not top down. So if you see any ERM implementation by any company, what they do is you have an operational management or people identified from the operational managements, typically managers, deputy managers or senior managers at the maximum, who will at a ground level identify the risks, transactional risk, this will be largely. So what are the risks, and again operational risk and financial risk, of course, if you want to clarify, but at the ground level they identify what are all the risks. Right? And then they make a big list of all the risks that the company is facing, take it up to the risk committee, which would typically again be made of all the CXOs and other board nominees. They feel whether this risk, again, what is the risk response I need to have for this, whether I need to mitigate the risk or bear with the risk, and all those risk mitigation procedures, they then decide. Like example, for example, in one MNC company that we audit, nearly 85% of their assets are computers, okay, because they do service, they are a service industry. But if you see, there is no insurance taken for these computers at all. Zero insurance. Why? Because there are an MNC at the group level. They have decided not to take insurance for any asset which is less than, again in dollar terms, so 30 to 40,000 is nothing for them. So no insurance is taken for them at all. So no theft insurance. So there have been instances where, and there is a lot of attrition in this industry. Okay, so the attrition rate is somewhere around it varies between 18 to 25% is the attrition rate. And every employee is given a laptop. There have been instances where every quarter there will be at least 10 laptops which are missing because the employee has not given it back to you. He's just absconded like that. Okay. So again, this was a conscious risk taken. Again, this is only 10% or much less. It's only about 1% of my total value of my assets. So even if I don't take an insurance, chalta hai. And anyway, one other mitigating factor that they did was no laptop is carried on for more than the warranty period. So they insist that the OEMs give them a 3-year warranty period, which is a standard practice these days. So as soon as the 3 years is over, irrespective of what level of what condition the laptop is, they do go and replace. Of course, they are a rich company. They managed to do that. So that is a conscious decision which is taken at the top level on whether my 85% of the assets is not insured. It is exposed to various kinds of risk. Is it okay? Not okay. But again, there also the challenge is again about servers. Okay, sometimes you have a very you just take up a laptop, a small desktop or something, upgrade all of this for all the functionalities required for a server, and just take out one license, put in there. So what does this cost? This is going to be less than 50,000 for you. So as per that policy, you're not covering the servers also. So this is something that you'll have to critically examine, whether it is okay, not okay. So at an operational level, yes, they identify that a lot of computer equipments are not insured. At the top level, they decide okay, not okay, and what is going to be my compensating controls for all of this, or my mitigating controls for all of this. So that's how it functions. And this is something which has to be reviewed every quarter. So if you so of course it cannot be done. So this is done again. ERM per se is done largely by people, operation people, financial people as part of their work, but they do it consciously every quarter. Revise the risk assessments and all that and come up. So that is where this operational risk monitoring becomes very, very important and becomes a reporting dashboard for us. And of course, business continuity. Because even though we talk about business continuity at the top level, we see that there are a lot of critical functions which are not covered by business continuity in most of the organizations. So that again, a lot of this input again comes from bottoms up rather than top down. So enterprise risk management is again a very interesting area, and something I think even mid-sized companies should do given the current economic and political setup that we have. And this is irrespective of the industry we are in, but of course it's more prone to service industry largely, where the dependency is on human capital or IT capital. Largely right now that's where it is being driven. Very few companies in the traditional sectors of manufacturing have taken this up. Of course, pharma companies are a big, so wherever there is high regulation, like for example your BFSI sector, pharma, all of this, they do all of this in enterprise risk and the control environment are pretty strong there. Then of course the other opportunity that we have is as a forensics or fraud risks and investigation. I'll come down to what are all the various aspects or various niche areas you can do, or various services that can be provided as in the overall umbrella of fraud risk. That we'll come to that separately. And data analytics for risk monitoring. So we saw that here, data analytics and audit. So we can do the same thing for risk and also extend it to the audit function, of course. So data analytics is again a specified area, as you all know. It's having a CA background helps, but you also need to know more of the data tools. Then compliance monitoring, of course. Here especially anti-bribery and third-party compliance are a big thing. And of course for regulatory reporting and compliance, there are we also pitch in as a CAs, and then there are CSs, and also various other compliance with regard to environment particularly. And in case of a factory setup, your labor law compliances assume a lot of importance. So we can pitch in as a CA for that also. So these are just roles I brought in. Again, I'll just skip this slide. So typically, if you see, there is a fraud risk analyst, and an internal audit. So it's just that the approach which changes, but the basic knowledge is the same. But final fine tuning and the tools and the focus will change a lot based on that. And who uses more of these roles is again largely industry dependent. So you do have a career. Finally, you do have a career right up to the CFO. You can go as a chief risk officer or a CAE, and then you can go as a forensic investigator, fraud manager. Again, can translate into a chief risk officer. So I've just now. How much? 11:30. Okay. Then this is where I'm talking about what are the various services we can provide in forensics. In controls, if you want any specific technical area that needs to be discussed or questions that you have, we can take it up now. I'll proceed with this then. So in forensics, there are various things. So one is fraud and misconduct investigation. So this is again largely initiated by HR because they have got an information that a fraud has happened. And so they want to proceed for an employee misconduct. They want evidence gathering for this. So they come to us. So we as fraud investigators again go and do the entire fraud investigation in this case. What really has happened, right? The main thing or main function of any fraud investigator or a forensic specialist gathering information, evidential information, evidential documents. So that gathering evidence is a major job, major challenge in fact there. So for that we use multiple things and multiple tools. So fraud investigation is for fraud and misconduct investigations. And then you have overall fraud risk assessment. So if you see, actually as part of IFC itself, and also because your company law has also asked you to do a specific fraud assessment, we anyway do the fraud assessment. In fact, if you talk about the risk and control matrix, a really good risk and control matrix should also identify fraud at the transaction level. So we must have risks and controls and also identify whether the fraud risk is applicable in this particular control or risk. So that is one very good way, and that is actually what is required, because that's where you identify fraud risk at the transaction levels. So once you've done that, fraud risk assessment, then the remaining is only largely environmental risks, and then of course the three pillars of fraud inducement that you have, whether you have the opportunity and whether you have the intention, and then whether there is an infrastructure. So these three things are what is determining your fraud angle there. So fraud risk assessment, typically again it happens at both the overall environmental level and at the transaction level, and we are supposed to flag all the fraud risk areas. So here typically that is where you will hear all the jargons about heat map and then the red markers, red alerts, all those things. There are actually softwares also which are available which identify the fraud risks markers or potential fraud risk areas by going through your entire database, and then they say there is a potential for fraud risk here, fraud risk here, fraud risk here, and then we can actually take out that output, and then we can analyze it and really see if it's a false positive or not, and then we do a deep dive into it and see whether we need to put in additional controls there or not. So typically most of these again softwares, if you see in a larger organization where there is a lot of data happening, this typically will be like like I told you, for example, AP standard dedupe check for payment, for invoice, these are standard. Again for vendor, fictitious vendor, so it does based on certain parameters. So it actually sees whether there have been previous transactions happening, similar transactions happening, periodicity of the transactions, and then the amount, whether it's exactly matching every time, even if it is not. And then of course you have the Benford analysis which is done there to give a fraud marker or a fraud indicator. So like that across each and every business process that we have, these tools again run on certain standard parameters or criteria, give you an output, and then we can then go about and see whether this is actually a potential for fraud there or not, because sometimes you also have compensating controls. which of course your fraud, none of the tools will consider the compensating controls which are there in place. Whereas we need to consider the compensating controls there. So when you do a fraud assessment with tool, without tool, in both cases, the challenge here is A, identify potential areas of fraud, and 2, also give the probability of fraud occurring considering the compensating controls that we have. So that is our major challenge there, or an input. So that fraud risk assessment is there. Sometimes they may ask you to do it when companies come, they might ask you to do it only for one particular area. And typically, some of the very favorite areas, of course, is payroll, and AP is an all-time favorite. And then you have, other than these two, forex transactions and manual journal entry, so in your financial closure process. And but more than that, the top two, like I told you, and then the third one is wherever you have engagements, like you have channels, you have dealership payments, sales commission is one major area of fraud analytics. Because there is always you really don't know whether there is a contract at the back end. There is a personal interest in pushing these sales, and to what extent the sales will fructify and all that stuff. So one area that we typically, the very standard control which is used in case of sales commission, or wrong sales commission or inflated sales commission is, most of the companies, what they do, they split the sales commission into 3. 1 upon order landing, 2 upon invoicing, and 3 upon collection. So that way they ensure that there is no padding of the sales commission or padding of the transactions to earn a higher sales commission. So that is always done. And if you are in an industry where collection is always a problem, sticky debts is a problem, then the percentage of the sales commission which is given out is more once the collection happens, rather than at the order stage. Order stage, you definitely need to do at least 25 to 30% because it sort of motivates the sales guys to run more. And then invoicing, and then the collection part. So that's how it is split. So that is one major area. The other area is, of course, dealerships, agencies that you have. That is, again, always a hotbed for fraud investigation and management. And third, of course, like we've heard of management override of controls. So there, typically what happens is these kind of assignments come up from the top management, specifically probably the chairman, or sometimes it could be a board member who's suspecting the chairman or one of the other people. And here it's a very sensitive one where we'll have to look at email, a lot of their emails, and we'll try to see if we can access their personal emails and also extract the information. Again, it is typically based upon like the way your data leakage policies work. So there are phrases, there are keywords which are always searched for, there are trends which are looked for. So like for example in AP, a purchase side particularly, whether there is a arrangement with a particular vendor. So you may have on paper, when we actually go and see, especially when there is a multi-quotation which we need to require, which we are asked, that the company has, it says that 3 quotations always to be taken. But you actually see a particular vendor is then selected. So one way we also analyze if there is any vested interest here is to draw a timeline. Okay, when was the RFP given and who all responded at what time, and then what were the rates that they gave, what is the second round of discussion when it went, what was the rates which were slashed, by what percentage, and then again is there any one particular vendor for whom it has gone more number of iterations than the other vendors. So these are all typical red flags. And then you again have to talk to, and the challenge in any forensic audit is that you don't talk only to the process owner like we do for auditors also. We are also gather a lot of information from the other people. So you'll probably have to talk to the chaiwala, or you'll have to talk to the sweeper to find out, and then we also look about other indicators like, this person's salary is only so much, but he's driving this car, or his children are put in this. Now, this kind of a soft information we gather 2 ways during forensics. One is actually employ professionals who do a background digging of all these aspects, collect a lot of data and give. So it's more like what you see in movies and drama, like somebody actually tells. So investigators are employed in all these cases. The second way is, of course, the more informal way where you talk to people, have lunch, and somebody tells, see, this guy has this watch, or this guy has this high-end mobile, or this guy has this thing, the way he dresses up, the way he carries himself. All those social and personal indicators are also taken in during this investigation. But again, the trouble in the second part is that it can only give you indicators or leads, but it will not give you concrete evidence. Whereas investigation is one way where you can actually get concrete evidence. So that is done here. So fraud risk assessment, anti-bribery and anti-corruption review. Anti-corruption review is again that you have an anti-corruption policy in place, so compliance to the policy. So whether you have taken on vendors in violation of these policies, so that thing is what is done there. And then fraud data analytics, again, so most of these cases, they can give you an overall assignment, or they can tell you, I'll give you this data, you just do the data analytics of this and tell me what are the fraud indicators or possible fraud areas and come back. So that is also possible. So mostly it is, if when we imagine a fraud investigation, a whole lot of elements get into it, but we may get assignments which are only specific to this part. So fraud data analytics is that way. And then due diligence is again fraud due diligence. This is largely again more of a preventive mechanism rather than a detective mechanism. So here we see we have an anti-bribery and anti-corruption and anti-fraud policies and all in place. And then you do a due diligence to what extent the various policies and procedures put in place comply to that. Where are the weakness points? So that is, so again, you don't necessarily need to be a CFE for this. You can be a chartered accountant with a whole lot of experience to do this work. But being a CFE gets you the job. So then asset tracing. So when assets are lost and you need to trace the assets, digital, non-digital assets. So this again, following the trail thing happens here. Market intelligence, like I told you again, the second part where you have investigators involved, background verifications which are done, or you, like for example, there was a pharma company where there was a suspected fraud happening in the depots. Okay, so what is the thing was the transport, when they have to ship out goods from the depots or warehouses, all the transporters, you are supposed to pack up to a certain level, and then you dispatch them, and then there are from here point A to point B is what needs to be done. But what they found is specifically in certain when it goes to, before it goes to certain dealers or to certain other depots, there was always a shortage which was being reported and a transit claim always getting booked. So this was again identified through a fraud data analytics part. And then how did we go around finding out who is involved, what is involved, where we had people on field doing stock verification. So the whole thing was disguised as a routine stock verification exercise. You had people on, and some of these stock verification, while doing the verification, they also where they had to actually see what is the loading and unloading practices, who is going where, who is handling. So you have about let's say 5-6 people in charge of all the loading part. So who is doing what, which are, so meticulous tracking of which are the transporters used, who are the people liaising with all these transporters, which are all the destination points here, then collect all the data and then do. Apart from that, of course, there was a little bit of social engineering also involved, where you put in a very experienced guy, they may not really talk because there can be again red flags raised, like they may be wary that you have come for an investigation. So in this case, deliberately what we did was we asked BCom guys, young guys, BCom or CA interns, to go and talk to the delivery guys or the loading guys. So more in the pali nature, where they do the stock audit, come back, just talk to them and gather a lot of information. So this actually helped us a lot in this case. We were able to pinpoint merely because of the information that we gathered that this person is doing this person is potentially doing that. And then a whole lot of data analysis and other evidences we gathered, which actually helped us nail nearly around 10 people across locations who were involved in this mass scale, where the shortage was reported, but actually they had sold out and cashed in the money. So this was a very interesting thing that we had. And dispute assistance is where particularly we, forensics people, they collaborate with lawyers. So, especially in financial cases and all that, the lawyers want more evidence, or they want testimony of a forensic expert on how this could have happened and how actually it did, what are all the potential downsides, upsides, and all that. So that way you go as an expert witness there and also gather information for the lawyers wherever necessary. And then, like I told you, sales, promotion, and distributor review I've already covered. And then brand protection and anti-counterfeiting. So this is a very common thing again which happens, especially in retail. It's very, very popular. Pharma, it's popular. So like for example, ITC produces paper craft, right? It's supposed to be a luxury or a superior stationery and pen set. But there is somebody who's copying the designs and doing it. So here again, more than a CA, what the CA actually does is he drives the project, collates the data, makes sense of the data. But the field work will largely be, in this case, outsourced to people who are experts here. They are market intelligent experts here. They go out, they do all this work and come. Okay, so that's also called mystery shopping. So they do something like a mystery shopping here and then some actually gathering evidence and all that. Mystery shopping is also another interesting part. Typically happens in retail environments where you suspect people of pilferage, large scale pilferage in the shop front. Or the other way, other than pilferage, the other thing that they may do is discount schemes. That's a very common area of scheming of money. So what, for example, what will happen is you go to a retail store, let us say there is a sales promotion going on. And in that sales promotion, it says that you take 2 Fiyama D-Wells shampoo, you will get 20 rupees off, let's say. So what this guy has actually done is, when he's actually billing it, most of these schemes, what happens is in your POS, they are already defined. Each of the scheme will be predefined here. So instead of booking it in this, he will book it in another, he will give you only 20 rupees, but he will book the discount. He will give you 20 rupees, or sometimes he'll negotiate and say that, no, there is a special offer today. So over and above this 20 rupees, you'll actually get another 50 rupees discount. And they will book this entire scheme under a different scheme, which has a higher discount, or it could even be an expired scheme, but there is a system control which is lapsed there, whatever. So more cash, the customer is given some money and these guys take off some money. So that also happens in mystery shopping. So that is also identified there. Again, largely investigators, not necessarily CAs, but we drive the way the questions are asked and all that. Another increasing area of potential for forensics or investigations particularly is CSR spends. So as chartered accountants, we give utilization certificates, right? But there is also CSR impact assessment, and so boards are now concerned, let's say you are giving 2 crores, 3 crores, 7 crores, 10 crores. So boards are also concerned on whether actually the money is being used for this purpose or not, and what is the impact that it has actually, the society has actually received, intended impact received or not. But in this case, again, you see there are a lot of cases where there is again a control lapse, both from the sponsors organization as well as the receiver organization, where a lot of expenditure has no supporting documents, evidences and all that. It's all largely cash manipulation, especially at the receiver organization side. And in the sponsor organization side, it's they would have sanctioned all the amounts without supporting bills and all that. And there will be some arrangement with the receiver where the guy in charge of the CSR activity or the AP guy gets some kickback. You pass on this money, you give me this 2 crores. I don't have bills for about 10 lakhs or 12 lakhs. Chalta hai, I will just either give it as just salary paid. And there will be no evidence, nothing given. But when you actually go around and investigate, they would have employed only, people at a cost of maybe 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs or 4 lakhs on a part-time basis, but they are claiming salary for 10 lakhs. That money just goes directly into the receiver organization, and there is a small kickback involved. So CSR activity has now become a major area for forensic investigations and frauds. So in digital forensics is one area which I didn't cover. Here it's largely relates to 2 types largely, where imaging of hardware. So you have identified a person or you're suspecting a person of hanky-panky. right? So then what happens is the company says, I'll give you their hard drive. You do an imaging of the hard drive, come out with a whole lot of information from that, and then let us say, because of security, most of the hard drives are encrypted. So our data all are encrypted. So some personal data can also be there. That is the expectation. So the hard drives are all imaged, and then they remove it's all translated into readable data for us. And from that data, again, we do a whole lot of analysis and come out with supporting evidences if it is available. But again, this is like, there is a potential for failure here, because if personal data, for example, is not stored there, you may not come up with concrete evidence about personal misuse of the money. The second thing is, even in official, again, like I told you, pattern recognition softwares, because sometimes, the way the mails are sent to the vendor, the frequency of the mail, those things are all also considered here. And sometimes someplace there is a slip up. So that helps. Okay. And then the other one, so the deleted data, and particularly what happens is, if the person who's under suspicion gets to know that, yes, maybe these people are now suspicious, so he starts deleting data, incriminating data. So this imaging software will pull out even the deleted data, and then you can present it, then analyze the deleted data and give them as evidence. So this is one thing. The other thing is, of course, there are various tools which will analyze your emails, like I told you earlier. So that is also part of digital forensics. So digital forensics typically would be done by a person who is good in IT or has an IT background, and he works with a forensics team. So so here, like I've already covered fraud data analytics. So there is an industry specific profiling in certain cases, like I told you, pharma, retail, all those cases. Due diligence, one aspect is a third party due diligence also. So especially in the procurement department, you go and investigate the vendor, not just your people here. You go and investigate the vendor and see what are the practices he has. What is it? You try to gather information of all the malpractices that has happened from their end. So that would be one. Market intelligence we've seen. So this is already, I was very surprised that we are 30% here. So that was news to me when I went to the website today. But the sad fact, before I conclude, one is about risks and controls. What is the future that is held? Like I told you, GCC is there to stay for some more time. So we do have a lot of opportunities there. And personally, when you go to a GCC, there are three things which are more, advantages to women. I mean, I'm not promoting any specific GCC. I'm just talking from my personal experience as a woman practitioner. So one thing is, they have more standard practices, templates. So life is much more easier, So you fall into a specific pattern, so-called, or you have a lot of guides on how to do things. And there are monitoring mechanisms which are largely built in, they really help you. And two is, the pressure of delivering to the client in a particular timeline is largely not there, because it's all, again, highly scheduled and spread out and all that stuff. So that pressure is not there. It can happen in certain industry, in certain areas, but otherwise, especially when you go as an audit or a controls professional, that normally doesn't happen. The only downside is you may be asked to travel a lot if you're supporting a lot number of geographies. So that is always a downside that you will have. And GCCs are more prone to having flexible or hybrid time work timings and all that. So it's more suitable, especially when you're going after starting a family and you have a lot of commitments at home. So that really helps us a lot. But having said that, I also find that I have been now practicing controls for nearly 20 years, and in fact my put off was corporate structure, because we had to stick to a lot of timings and all that. Whereas practice actually gave me a lot of flexibility to develop things on my own and take up projects on my own and all that. I mean, what goes without saying is having a proper mentor or having a proper godfather who can help you in terms of troubles and try to take off the slack from you when we are faced with a lot of domestic. So that goes without saying. In fact, that goes for any, not just as a controls professional, as an accounting, auditing professional. And I think that happens even for men too. I don't think it's a thing which is unique, just that our circumstances or our situations are much more than what they would face. So that's the only difference there. But you definitely need to have a mentor wherever you do. And then, of course, there are new areas which are coming up, again, largely digital. But AI governance, I feel, is one area where we can really put in our minds, because we have this logical thinking. We have the ability to sort of, take a whole and pull it out in parts and put it together again in terms of process and all that. Whereas an AI techie will be more, focused on the functioning and what are all the security features, this, that, when the governance will totally go for a toss. So business utility and governance are two areas that we as chartered accountants can really help in the AI wave. Because we have this rational thinking, and we are not necessarily carried away by a wave of new technology or anything like that. So we are much more grounded that way. So we have a huge opportunity there in AI governance. That's I feel is a good opportunity for us to do. And third-party risk, of course. But third-party risk, again, it also involves certain visits. So if you are game to a lot of on-site visits and all that, third-party governance is, again, a very huge emerging area. You take privacy, you take cyber, you take... Because these days, if you... I read somewhere that nearly only 20 to 30% of the new age businesses do processes inside. Everything else is outsourced. And even traditional businesses have started moving to the outsourced model. So which means the number of third party that any organization is handling, it is anywhere between minimum 10 and it can go up to 100. Especially in case of banks and all, it just goes up to 100, 120, 130. So that is where RBI has also come up with this third party audit which needs to be undertaken every year. And that the third-party resilience is also one aspect that we need to do. So I feel that, as chartered accountants, we need to be tech savvy. We need to be able to understand what the technology is doing so that we can say what is going wrong there. So, and that particularly suits us in an ERP environment where it is all largely business driven, but again, increasingly what we are doing is we are not auditing the system or auditing within the system, we are auditing around the system. So that is a mindset change which should happen. Only then we can be proper, good control professionals, and we can also add value and also find out any gaps or other things which have happened, because system is again man-made, right? So there are always lapses in the way the controls have been built into the system and they've maintained in the system, and they hardly, if you see, nearly 60% of the cases, they don't reflect the changing environment. Whereas we are aware of the changing environment. So the first question is that we have to ask, if there is a control, has it considered this change in the environment? Change in the environment will include change in people, change in infrastructure, and change in business objectives and business processes, of course. But mostly this will not happen, and that is where a lot of control lapses happen for us. So technology, we should not treat it as an alien, or rather we should start working with the technology and start doing audits within the ERP framework or the IT framework. So that's all I have to say. Any questions or any inputs from your side, I would be happy to take.
Members, if there is any questions, please post.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you all.
Thank you, ma'am, for the insightful session. You highlighted the key aspects of ERP, particularly the identification of risk and mitigating factors. Your explanation on internal finance controls, opportunity in GCC added valuable professional insight, and SARB and SACSLA controls, documentation and precision in control testing using the 4W and 1H approach. Your insights on forensic processes, transaction level risk identification, and challenges in detecting fraud-prone areas, mystery shipping, and auditing around the system add values were truly enlightening. So thank you once again for sharing your expertise with us, ma'am. Thank you. Members, you please use the free eye test checkup, which is given by Maxi Vision. The facilities offered were auto refractor and manual eye checkup, color vision test, and dry eye test, and retinoscopy. Thank you. We will now take a short tea break for 15 minutes. So kindly reassemble by 11:45 a.m. so that we can continue the remainder. Welcome back, everyone. May I request our CA Rekha Umashiv RCM SIRC to kindly escort our speaker Aruna and Abi Senguttuvan to the dais. As a token of our respect and appreciation, I invite our CA Rekha Umashiv RCM SIRC to kindly present a sampling to speakers. Introduction of the speakers. Aruna, founder and chief trainer of Yoga Darshini, an organization incubated at NSRCEL, IIM Bangalore, promoting yoga and holistic wellness. Internationally certified yoga trainer from the Sivananda Yoga Vedanta Center, Madurai, with extensive experience conducting yoga sessions, workshops and wellness programs. Through Yoga Darshini, she and her team have delivered over 10,000 hours of teaching and trained more than 10,000 participants across online and offline platforms. So we are invited to conduct sessions for prestigious organizations including the Indian Navy, ICA and leading corporates such as Equitas Small Finance Bank, ITZ and Titan Jewelry. So an engineering graduate with an MBA, former commercial banker and strategy professional, currently Vice President of Women Professional Connect, and a former triathlete and marathon runner devoted to yoga and Vedanta. Abi, she is the trusted wellness partner of Yoga Darshini. Abi Senguttuvan is a BE MBA who worked as a software engineer before finding her true calling in the wellness space. She is a certified nutritionist who has studied at Institute of Integrative Nutrition and is certified functional hormone health specialist. She is also a NASM certified nutrition coach and behavioral analysis coach. She has worked with more than 500 clients, helping them manage and reverse lifestyle disorders like diabetes, thyroid, PCOD, PCOS in the last 7 years. So professional excellence must always go hand in hand with physical and mental well-being. So to guide us on this important aspect, we have a special session on nutrition and yoga. So it is my pleasure to invite nutritionist Ms. Abi Senguttuvan to conduct the session. And later on, we will have our yoga session. Over to you.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. Good morning. I heard last session was really good, and it was like so. Let's make this a little fun. Yeah, let's interact so that it doesn't feel like a science class. Yeah, let's start off with this one. So I was telling Aruna that I worked with professionals from all categories, but CA is something which is very less according to me in my client profile. So I was just talking to my CA yesterday for preparing, and I heard that in India, on average, every CA who's even preparing, who's into this profession, has an average IQ of 115 to 130. Do you guys know that? Average, on average. And that puts you guys in like top 10 to 15% of the most intelligent people in India. So I'm really pleased. I'm glad to have this conversation with you guys. If you're so intelligent, why do you guys need this session, right? I'll also tell you another stats. In a study which was conducted globally, especially in South Pacific area, in Jan 2026, CAs are the people who feel burnout and are so stressed, especially during the Q and crunch and the queue to end. Is that true? I don't know. Stats says that. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why we see on whole this generation is walking towards high performance and low rest kind of phase. Yeah, so let's address that. But before that, can I know what's your favorite snacks? Evening snack. I'd like to, have, a couple of answers. No judgments here. Everybody are the same, right? No snacks. Amazing. Okay. Only coffee. Coffee is a snack. Yes. Anything to go with the coffee? Biscuit, samosa. No, nothing. Samosas. Okay. Anything else? Biscuits. What kind of biscuit? Mary biscuit, Oreo, milk bikkies. Milk bikkies. Yeah. Anything else? Sweet corn. Amazing. Pani puri. Wow. Okay. Anything else? Bhaji, vada, tea plus vada. Yeah. All right. Do you guys know how many calories we burn when we walk for 30 minutes? Any idea? 150 calories. Okay, let's keep this as a benchmark. Now, you guys are going to tell me how many calories does a cup of coffee have? According to us, that's like a no snack, right? So, any idea? Just a small cup of coffee with normal sugar, with normal milk and coffee. Any idea? Random guess. 50. Okay. Any other guess? 100. No, that's too much. Yeah. Okay. It has somewhere around 50 to 60 calories. If it's like 1 teaspoon of sugar, but none of us take 1 teaspoon of sugar, right? Yeah. So on average. Now, let's go to our favorite snack, samosa. Okay, I'm going to give you 3 options so that you can pick, okay? 100, 200, 400. Oil, it differs, but if it's like a usual samosa and it's all deep fried usually. Any idea? No air fryer samosa. We don't get that in our tea shop, no? 400, yeah. Somewhere around that. 350 to 400 is like 1 samosa. If you think that that's really low, I'm also going to tell you 1 full masala dosa which is made at home is also 400 calories. And your small samosa is also 400 calories. That's the difference, okay? Now, our favorite biscuits. Let's end with this, okay? Any idea? 2 milk bikkies plus probably a cup of coffee or tea. Any idea? Random guess. 150. 100. Somewhere around what Aruna said. 150 to 175. Those biscuits, it's very small, right? Especially when you dip it in the tea, we feel like it doesn't have calories. Okay. How many of you actually feel hungry around 3 to 4? All of us, right? All of us. Snack, 3 to 4. After eating lunch, yes, of course. Okay, lunch itself is around. Okay. Okay. We shouldn't actually. Yeah, we definitely shouldn't count calories. Even I'm in that. But when we are not aware what's going into our body and if it's actually helping us or not, then I think we should be a little aware of that. Don't you think? Yeah. All right. See, our grandparents, I still remember my grandpa used to have a cup of coffee every evening along with some, the sundal or peanuts. That was like a normal Indian snack. But I also remember him walking 7 to 8 kilometers just casually. Are we doing that? But still we are clinging on to the, food habits which our ancestors had. Yeah. Negating all the physical activity which they had. That's a problem here. The sedentary lifestyle. Okay, I'm going to split it into 5. When I did some research, I understood that in your profession, there are 5 things which is like a big major concern, which constitutes to 75% of all the issues we have. Diabetes, BP, you name it. Okay, first and foremost thing, sitting for longer hours. Everybody agrees with me? I'll also tell you one more stats which my CA gave, okay? 70 to 80 hours a week, you guys are sitting during those, very peak audit sessions. 70 to 80 hours a week. That's like 45% of your life in that week. 45% you're sitting, yeah? And the remaining 30% we sleep. The remaining 20 is for family and stuffs like that, yeah? Okay, so that's the first problem, sedentary lifestyle. The second one would be, you guys work through your brain. Brain is your like the asset, right? Brain also needs energy. Like ma'am said, when we are hungry, we just want something because we want to fuel our brain without even knowing if it's actually fueling our brain or our tummies. Yeah, that's a big difference. I'm also going to tell you why I'm telling you exactly tummy. So that's the second issue. Lot of brain work without physical activity and without knowing if that's actually fueling us or not. Second. The third one is high stress level. A very high stress level. Without managing it. See, we all go through stress. Students these days says that they have stress. My daughter studies in first grade and she yesterday told me that I'm super stressed. Randomly. The stress has become like a norm these days. But genuinely saying, you guys have a lot of stress. Yeah. Third one, without having a technique to manage it. That's a problem. Third. Fourth one would be, how many of you skip your meal? Exactly. Anybody else? Skip the meal, especially when your work is very high. Never. That's amazing. Very late meals at times. Holidays, no? Most of the days, yeah. Skipping breakfast. For a woman, that's like a suicide for women. Skipping breakfast. I'll tell you why. Okay. So these are the four major areas which you guys have to concentrate. If we can concentrate on those, that itself will solve a lot of problems. I'll give you, see, we all know this, right? Instagram, every influencer talks about it. Let's talk about the solutions now. When you are sitting for a very long time, see, somehow our brain can focus only for 90 minutes in a stretch. If you can, take your mobile or download an app and have an alarm for every 2 hours once and just walk for 2 to 5 minutes. That itself is like a big thing. I'm also going to add one more thing there. Hydrate. Have a glass of water every 2 hours. And I'm also going to give you another trick. When you feel this random hunger, you're actually not physically hungry, but feel like having something. Yeah. During those times, infuse something in that water. It could be some cucumbers with some mint leaves, or it could be some chia seeds. What happens is your brain gets tricked here. We are basically manipulating our brain that we are actually giving you some food, and that's gonna when your body is well hydrated, your brain also feels energetic. So every 2 hours, keep an alarm, walk for 2 to 5 minutes, and have a drink. When I say drink, it's absolutely not coffee or tea. It's some water with some infusions in it. First, solution for long sitting hours. The second one is high stress. I think Aruna will cover a lot about that. High stress. How do we manage stress? But I'm going to talk from a nutrition point of view. We spoke about the brain fuel, right? Brain food. Brain actually takes a lot of food in the form of fluids, not dry food. Your bread doesn't fuel your brain much. But at the same time, if you have a watermelon, it fuels 50% of your brain. Anything watery, it energizes your brain instantly. Have you seen that? Eating a bread versus watermelon? Anything watery actually helps. And also anything with good fats, unprocessed fats like walnuts or almonds, it actually fuels your brain. Anything with fats, good fats. So I'm going to give you a list of food at the end of the session so that you can have all of this handy in your desk. Whenever you feel like munching, you can probably munch on that. Next one. Please excuse me if I'm going to pronounce the technical terms wrong, but have you heard of this word? I mean, of course you would have heard. Unrecognized liabilities. Yeah? You guys hate it, right? Yeah? When you don't give food for your body, that's like an unrecognized liability for your brain. It doesn't expect that. So it blows out big term. Should I eat at the same time every day even when I'm not hungry? No, you're not supposed to do that. But when you're so focused on work, your body's cues takes a backseat. Have you ever felt hungry while watching a movie? Can you remember? Ever felt hungry? But when you're sitting in a class, yeah, So that's the difference. When our brain is super focused, your hunger takes a back seat. The signal is not evident to your brain at all. So that's why it's better if you can stick to a approximate timeline rather than fixing 1:30, 1 to 2 whenever you're hungry. Please go and have your food. If you're unable to do it, see, I definitely understand during the audit periods and during this high stress times, I'm sure you will not be able to have it. In those cases, split your meal and make it a shorter portions, like a fruit when you're unable to go for the lunch, and then you can have lunch at the little later point. But then if you do not give food for more than 4 hours to your body, especially for a woman, that directly goes and affects your hormonal health. Let's have a honest conversation, okay? I think most of us would be somewhere around 30s, right? 30 to 40 plus. Recently, are you noticing this little brain fog? When I say brain fog, you exactly remembered that you switched off your gas or took that key, but suddenly you feel that, no, I don't know, I have to go and check back. Do you guys go through that? Again, this was not the case with our grandparents. That's it. Let's not go into science. But in this generation, most of us, the minute we reach 30, we are starting to feel it. Why? Brain fog. We call it as, in our science terminology, we call it as brain fog. When your cortisol is very high. Have you guys heard of cortisol? Cortisol, stress hormone, right? But do you think cortisol is bad? Anybody has an opinion? Good, bad? Bad? Not bad. Yes. See, my cortisol is actually slightly higher. That's exactly why I'm able to talk to you guys briskly. But when it's in its peak for over a period of 20 minutes, that becomes chronic stress. That's when it becomes bad. It can be either good or bad according to how we treat it. Okay? So, if your cortisol is really high for a very long period, what happens is, your brain gets into a survival mode. When we are surviving and not thriving, what happens is your brain is fogged and we start to think very linear and a creative spark kind of gets blocked. So you might think that, okay, maybe I'm aging, that's why the creativity is going down. It's actually not you. It's not your age. It's just a stress level. So some kind of stress management will always help. I think Aruna will talk more about it. So overall, I'm just going to give you guys 5 foods like a snack, which you can keep it in your desk. Whenever you're feeling hungry, you can probably, try that. First and foremost thing would be walnuts. Walnuts are going to be your best friends. Okay. That's because it's one of the richest omega-3 foods available in India. See, in foreign countries, we have Brazil nuts, tuna, a lot of things. But here, walnuts and almonds. Have it handy. But again, if you overdo it, not so great. So how much can we have? A tight fistful. Because each of our bodies are different, our height difference is there. So whatever your fist can hold, a tight fistful, that's your portion, one portion. Yeah, you can always have that every single day and it's absolutely okay. And if you guys have a question of should I soak it, should I not soak it? If you have it, it's fine. Yeah, it's just minimal difference, soaking and non-soaking. So no worries. The second thing which I would suggest would be buttermilk. The reason being, it has a little bit of probiotics, which will keep your tummy in a very soothing state. Also, it's a liquid. I told you guys that anything watery refreshes your brain, right? So buttermilk. The third one would be, it could be the panagam, which they gave right now, right? It's also a great one, but probably, too much of sugar for a longer period, not so great. Yeah. The third thing which I would suggest would be anything like a protein bar or something like an energy bar, but make sure that it has the sugar should come only from dates, not from artificial sweetness like stevia, nothing like the sugar, brown sugar, honey. Don't go for any of these. Yeah. You might think that honey is great, but we never know the quality of honey which is mass produced, right? So some kind of energy bar. The next suggestion would be our good old puri or the puffed rice. Makhana is also great. Probably a cup of it is totally good. Another one would be popcorn, if you guys like. Puri, puffed rice and popcorn is kind of similar. The last one would be anything, nature's candy, any fruit. Banana, apples, watermelon, whatever that is. But then if it has more water, better for your brain. Okay, so keep all of these handy, and please do not skip meals or take a longer give longer pause between each meals. Yeah, and if you guys have any other questions, let's talk at the end of the session. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Hope we will follow the same and handle our stress level. Yeah. I invite Aruna, yoga trainer, to handle the session. Thank you.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Happy Women's Day to all of you. So thank you for inviting us here on this auspicious occasion. I feel great privilege to stand and share whatever I've learned, experienced, and I'm teaching actively to my students with all of you. We all would have listened a lot about stress from a mental perspective, yes or no? How many of you here don't know Tamil? Anybody who can't understand Tamil? Okay, so I can also speak in Tamil and English. Okay. So stress aikadinga. Stress eduthukadinga. We all hear this very often, right? How? Eppadi stress eduthukama irukka mudiyum? Is it possible? Is it a practical advice? Stress ஆக வேண்டாம் ப்ளீஸ். ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் பண்ணிக்காதீங்க மேடம். ஏன் மேடம் டென்ஷன் ஆகாதீங்க? நாங்கள் ஏன்னா ஆசையாகப்படுறோம் டென்ஷன் ஆகிறதுக்கு. We don't, right? So how do you, what do they mean when they say don't take stress? I want to talk to you about it from our nervous system perspective. Right? We all have nervous system, spinal cord, nerves, brain, all of this form a part of a nervous system. I want to talk to you about this system and actually teach you techniques as to how to handle stress. Useful? Something that you can do on your day-to-day life. Okay, purely from a physiological perspective. Na mental aspect ke pola body veche eppadi stress handle pannungiradhu da I wanted to share with you in these 20 minutes. See, stress is not a bad thing. We are designed to handle stress. Okay? We are physiologically wired to handle stress. But what we are not wired is to keep handling stress all through the day. Adu mudiyadu. Adu body alla mudiyadu. So, first, when humans were just evolving, right? What do you think would be the stress at those times? Finding food. Literally, a tiger can come and eat you, no? Right? Another caveman will come and hit you over the head and kill you, right? Like you had actual danger that is life-threatening, yes, that is going to destroy your body, right? Those were the actual stress at that time. So what should we do at those times? We will either run away from that danger or we will fight that danger. After that, what will happen? The danger passes, then are we still going to the katti kabdava thookitta அப்படியே நின்னுட்டு இருக்க போறோமா? போட்டுட்டு அப்பாடா அப்படின்னு போய் படுத்து தூங்கிடுவோம், இல்லாட்டி சாப்பிட்டுட்டு ரெஸ்ட் எடுப்போம். Right? That's what even animals do, right? A deer escapes from the tiger. ஓடி 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 அப்பா போயிட்டுறாளா and I'm safe அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு what does it? It goes, grazes something and it goes to sleep. It's not constantly running all through the day, right? What are we doing? What are we doing? Thankfully, there is no lion tiger coming and chasing us. But what is chasing us? Targets, deadlines, bills, EMIs, client calls. Yes or no? Innuma mudikala eppa submit பண்ணுவீங்க இல்ல? Yes? What else? What else are we stressing about? குழந்தைங்க. Oh my God, yes. They are an overload to our nervous system. Actually, kids are an overload to our nervous system. I have a 6-year-old. She's slightly getting better, but trust me, 2, 3, 4 years, absolute nervous system overload. Adhu amma gonda irundha setto nambo. Setta segarda nammalam. Right? So, the body is constantly holding the stress. Adhadan the nervous system never signals the body that okay, there is no danger pa, please konja rest eduthuko அப்படின்ற அந்த ஒரு சிக்னலே போகாது பாடிக்கு. Sorry? Limit reached. It's like literally, do you all remember those times when we had single phase in our homes, electricity single phase ஞாபகம் இருக்கா? அந்த டைமில் ஏசியும் ஓட்டி, ஃப்ரிட்ஜையும் ஓட்டி, வாஷிங் மிஷினும் ஓட்டி, டிவியும் ஓட்டி, 3 ஃபேனு 4 லைட் எல்லாம் ஓட்டினா என்ன ஆயிருக்கும்? ஃபியூஸ் ப்ளோ ஆகும் இல்லை? அதுதான் நமக்கு ஆகுது. கெப்பாசிட்டி இவ்வளோதான். அந்த கெப்பாசிட்டியில் எல்லாத்தையும் போட்டு லோடு பண்ணி ஓடுனா எங்கேருந்து ஓடும்? முடியாது. ஸோ வாட் we should learn is 2 things. One, how to switch off. அட்லீஸ்ட் ஒரு 4 ஃபேனையாவது ஸ்விட்ச் ஆஃப் பண்ண நமக்கு தெரியணும் ஃபஸ்ட்டு. செகண்ட் என்ன பண்ணணும்? சிங்கிள் ஃபேஸை 3 ஃபேஸாக மாற்றணும். ரெண்டுமே பண்ணலாமா? இது ரெண்டும் தான் நான் உங்களுக்கு இன்றைக்கி சொல்லிக் கொடுக்க போகிறேன். Do you understand what I'm trying to say over here? Okay. So, stress is predominantly a mental thing, and again, I don't want you to approach stress from your mind. I want you to approach stress from your body and your breath. Understood? Mind is obeying you all the time. Stress எடுத்துக்காதீங்க. பா இதுதான் எனக்கு தெரியாமல் போச்சு. இப்போ ஓகே, I will not. Will the mind obey you? Don't think about lunch. எல்லாருக்கும் இப்போ என்ன லஞ்ச், இன்னைக்கு என்ன லஞ்ச் அதுதானே யோசிக்கிறீங்க இல்லையா? மைண்ட் ஒபே பண்ணாது. இப்போ எவ்ரிபடி ஸ்டாண்ட் அப். என்னப்பா ஸ்டாண்ட் அப்பா? சிட் டவுன். ஸ்டாண்ட் அப். லிஃப்ட் யுவர் ஹேண்ட்ஸ் அப். ட்ராப் யுவர் ஹேண்ட்ஸ் டவுன். லுக் அப். லுக் டவுன். சிட் டவுன். பாடி obey? Yes or no? 100% obeyed? Okay. Now take a deep inhalation. Hold your breath. Exhale. Again hold your breath. Inhale. Breathe normally. Breath. Obeys. If I say hold your breath for 5 minutes, that's all. That is அது முடியாது. But mostly it obeys. Yes or no? So these are the 2 things that we are going to use to handle stress. Understanding the logic. எங்கே பிரச்சனை இருக்கோ அதை தொடாமல் சைடு வழியாக அப்படி நம்ம பூந்து போகிறோம். ஓகேயா? ஸோ ஃபஸ்ட்டு நான் உங்களுக்கு என்ன சொல்லி தர போகிறேன்னா, how to use your breath as a switch to reduce your stress level. What happens is, see, when we are in a stress mode, there are 2 important nervous system pathways in our body. One is called the sympathetic and the other is called the parasympathetic. We have to switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic. Parasympathetic is the rest and digest. Danger illada, saaptu thoongada அப்படினு சொல்ற system தான் parasympathetic. That has to be our predominant state of nervous system. Only then your digestion will happen properly, your blood pressure will be regulated, your hormone secretion will be regulated. Inflammation in the body will come down only when you are in a parasympathetic state most of the time. But நம்ம எந்த ஸ்டேட்டில் இருக்கோம்? சிம்பத்தட்டிக் ஸ்டேட்டில் இருக்கோம். அப்போ என்ன பண்ணோம்? டேஞ்சர் சாப்பாடா முக்கியம், டைஜஷனை நிறுத்துறா, முதல்ல ஹார்மோன் கார்டிசாலை அடிச்சு தள்ளு, விடு பாடியில் இன்னும் கார்டிசாலை விடு, இப்போ பிளட் ப்ரெஷர்லாம் அடிச்சு தூக்குங்க, மோர் ஃபாஸ்ட்டாக ஹார்ட் பீட் பண்ணி, இதுதான் சொல்லும் சிம்பத்தட்டிக் நர்வஸ் சிஸ்டம் இருக்கும்போது. அதுக்கு டைகர் கீகர்லாம் தெரியாது, நம்ம நீமேலே நமக்கு ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் தான், அதுதான் நம்மளோட டேஞ்சர். ஓகே, பட் யூ வில் பி இன் த சிம்பத்தட்டிக் மூட். நவ் வி ஹாவ் டு ஸ்விட்ச் from this to that. How do? You use your breath. Most of the times, you know what we do? I think Abi will also agree to it. We eat. Emotional eating. What you're doing when you're doing emotional eating? You're soothing your nervous system. நல்லா எந்த பிரச்சனையும் இல்லைன்னா தானே சாப்பிடுவோம். ஸோ சாப்பிட்டு நம்ம பாடிக்கு சிக்னல் கொடுக்குறோம், ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லைப்பா, நீ ரெஸ்ட் எடுத்துக்கோன்ற சிக்னல் தான் கொடுக்குறோம் when we are doing emotional eating. But we should do it with our breath. Okay, I will teach you how to do. Are you all ready to learn? Nalla நேரா உட்காந்துக்கணும். Okay, spine tall everybody, both your feet down on the earth. Okay, I want you to take your awareness to your belly, vairu. Okay, this is the area, this is the major node for our parasympathetic nervous system. We want to activate it. Okay, so I want you to inhale and push your belly out like a balloon. மூச்சு உள்ளே போகும்போது your belly should expand. Usually மூச்சு இழுக்கிறேன்னு எல்லாரும் வயிறு உள்ளே இழுத்து செஸ்ட். No, don't do that. When you inhale, your belly should expand. Okay, so breathe in, push your belly out, breathe out and draw your belly in towards the spine. Shall we do that 5 times? Close your eyes and see how it feels in your body. Okay, first switch I'm giving. Close your eyes. To my count, you're going to inhale and exhale. Okay, you can even keep your hands on your belly to take your awareness there. Okay, ready? Now inhale, expand your belly like a balloon, let it become big. Nobody is taking video of our bellies, so it's okay. Vayira ulla pidichu ilukadinga. Exhale, draw your belly in towards your spine. Pull it in, actively use your muscles to pull the belly in. Inhale, push your belly out, make it big, make it big, make it big. Exhale, pull your belly in, make it small, make it small, make it small. Inhale, belly expands as much as it can. Exhale, belly contracts as much as it can. Inhale, belly expands. Exhale, belly contracts. Relax. Open your eyes. How are you feeling? Little more relaxed? Little more calm? Yeah, this is the literal switch you have at your disposal to manage your stress. This is what you should do every time you are unlocking your phone. How many times we unlock our phone in a day? 100 times? Easily, no? At least whenever you remember, unlock பண்றதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஒரு pause. Breathe 5 times. How long did it take? 30 seconds? We all have 30 seconds. Nobody is that busy that they don't have 30 seconds. Breathe this way. What we are doing at this time, we are turning off the fans and lights. Probably the AC too. So that fuse blow ஆகாம இருக்கும். Right? Something that is within our power. Will you all remember to do this? Yeah? Good. Second thing I want you to teach you is how to build capacity. இப்போ 3 phase ஆக்க போகிறோம். Okay, so there is one important nerve called the vagus nerve. அப்படின்னு ஒரு nerve இருக்கு. That connects the brain to all the major organs that are there in our body. So this is also a part of our parasympathetic nervous system. இந்த பேர்லாம் மறந்தாலும் விட்டுருங்க. பட் நான் வந்து ஏன்னு உங்களுக்கு எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணுன்றதுக்காக ஐ எம் சேயிங் திஸ். ஸோ இந்த வேகஸ் நர்வ் ஆக்டிவேட் பண்ண the capacity of our nervous system to handle stress improves. How do you activate it? You hum. You hum. Humming breath. பண்ணலாமா? Are you all ready? Now, again sit straight. Do this mindfully, okay? As a part of your day. உடனே சாப்பிட்றதுக்கு முன்னாடியா சாப்பிட்டதுக்கு அப்புறமாவா அதெல்லாம் எதுவும் கிடையாது. We are breathing 24/7, so you can do it 24/7. Okay? You can do this before you go to sleep. ஃபோன் ஆஃப் பண்ணிவிட்டு அலாம் வச்சுட்டு தள்ளி வச்சுட்டு ஒரு 5 ஹம்மிங் பிரெத்ஸ் எடுத்துகிட்டு தூங்க போனோன்னா வச்சுக்கோங்களேன், யூ ஸ்லீப் பெட்டர் ஆல்சோ. ஸ்லீப் இஸ் ஒன் ஆஃப் த மேஜர் வேஸ் த பாடி டீஸ்ட்ரெஸஸ். லாஸ்ட் மினிட் வரைக்கும் ஃபோனில் ரீல் பார்த்துட்டு தூங்கக்கூடாது. ஓகே, கொஞ்சம் மைண்டுக்கு ரிலாக்ஸ் பண்ணிவிட்டு தூங்கணும். ஓகேயா? ஹம்மிங் பிரெத் பண்ணலாமா எல்லோரும்? நல்லா எனக்கு சவுண்டு கேட்கணும். ஓகே, enjoy and do. Ready? Close your eyes again. I want you to close your eyes so you can take your awareness to yourself and not look at others. அவன் பண்ணுறானா இவன் பண்ணுறானான்னு பார்க்க வேண்டாம், நம்ம பண்ணலாம். ஓகேயா? Close your eyes everybody. Now inhale through your nose. Now you know you have to expand your belly when you inhale. Okay? Inhale. And now when you exhale, do as long as you can. Inhale, சத்தமே வரல, இன்னும் கொஞ்சம் நிறைய பேர் பண்ணலான்னு நினைக்கிறேன். செகண்ட் டைம் லவுடர். ஓகே, எக்ஸேல் அண்ட் டூ. Breathe. One more time. So many of you are smiling as you're doing this. Inhale. Last time. Feel the vibration as you're doing this in your body. Keep doing. Pannunga. Relax. Oh, almost all of them are smiling now. Very happy to see this. Beautiful way to build capacity. வீட்டில் என்ன பாட்டு கற்றுக்கிறீங்களான்னு கேட்பாங்க. It's okay. You ask them also to hum along with you. But do this. You are signaling your nervous system that everything is fine and it improves the nerval tonality. Tonality na evlo fast and the nerve respond பண்ணுது to the impulses and communicates tonality. It improves the tonality. So then what happens? Resilience builds. Even if you are handling more work, நம்ம தான் 3 phase ஆக்கிட்டோமே, இன்னும் 2 ஏசியும் சேர்த்து ஓட்ட விடலாம், ரைட்? ஸோ யூ டோன்ட் burn out. What happens is we work, then we burn out, we don't do anything, we take a lot of time to recover and then come back. Let's not do that. Appappa we should let off the steam. Alright, so 2 things I shared with you. Do you all remember? First thing, belly breaths. Immediately it turns off the extra electricity that is being consumed. Okay, that is the first switch. Second switch, to make it 3 phase, humming breath. Third thing that I'm going to take you, this is the last. Okay, after this we will take questions. If you are all not hungry, okay, otherwise we won't hold you. Oh, we have one more session. Okay, are you up? We can't take your questions. So, last thing I want you to share is how you are holding the stress in your body. Where all do we hold stress in our body? Shoulders. Apro? Neck. Yes, apro? Lower back. Yes, apro? Talavali. Amma. Adi yen talavali kidhu? Jaw clench pannuvom. When you are stressed, you clench your jaw. That leads to headaches. So we will learn how to relax our body a little bit and then you can be fresh for the next session. Itching, yeah, itching also happens when you're overstressed. See, at the end of the day, you have to listen to what your body is saying. We are all living so much through our mind. We don't even listen to what the body is trying to communicate. அதாவது அந்த கழுத்து வலி வந்து கையே தூக்க முடியாத அளவுக்கு போனாதான் we take action. அந்த முதுகு வலினால சேர்லேருந்து எழுந்து நிற்கவே முடியலன்னா தான் we take action. Do maintenance. Do basic movements on a day-to-day basis. So that you don't, அதாவது அந்த பாடியை till the last thing you extract everything from it and then you say, oh, I am getting old. My body is say, what old? கரும்பு ஜூஸ், அது சக்கை தான், அதில் ஒன்றுமே இல்லை, வடிவேல சொல்கிறோம். Nothing left. Don't do that. You have to take care of yourself, no? We all have this beautiful body that God has blessed us. We should take care of it. Appadan that will take care of you. Illate enna agum, number 60s, 70s liye dabba dance aada aarambichirum. We all want to be independent till our last breath. We don't want anybody to take us to Susu Kaka. We don't want that, right? So then you have to take care of yourself. No choice. Okay, now I'm going to teach you how to consciously relax your body. You can also do it by yourself. Close your eyes. It's going to take you 2 minutes. Just focus and do it. Uncross your hands. First kai cross panikari. AC romba kulirichina, maybe you can warm it up. Keep your hands on your lap, feet on the earth. Lean back in your chair, close your eyes. Okay, just be aware of your body. Let's listen to my instructions and just do as I'm instructing you. Edum panna solla poradilla complicated. You're all going to stay seated only. First, start slowing down your breaths. Inhale, belly expands. Exhale, belly contracts. Aram se breathe in and out. There is no rush. Savor every breath that goes in and comes out of your body. Complete your breaths. Enjoy the breath going in and coming out. Take this minute to do that. There is nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, no emails to respond, no calls to take. You're just breathing now. Now, as you're breathing, take your awareness to your forehead and consciously relax your forehead, relax your eyebrows. Soften the muscles there. Relax your eyes, softly keeping your eyes closed. Let it relax. It has nothing to see now. Just relax your eyes. Relax your jaw. Soften your tongue. Take the tongue away from the roof of the mouth. Let it rest. Unclench your jaw. Feel your neck relaxing, the throat, the back of the neck, the sides of the neck. And let your shoulders come down away from the ears. Let it drop. Let the shoulders relax. Moving down all the way till your fingertips. Feel your entire hand becoming heavy and let it just rest on your lap. the back is relaxing, upper back, middle back, lower back. Relax your butt muscles. Mostly we also clench our glutes when we are stressed. Relax your butt muscles. Relax your belly. Let your belly hang out. Relax your chest. Relax your hips. Relax your thighs. Feel your thigh muscles relaxing, loosening. Relax your knees, your ankles, your feet. The entire body is now heavy and it is sinking deep into the chair. You're breathing very comfortably. We're going to keep breathing here for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Slowly rub your palms together, generate some heat. Place it on your eyes and open your eyes with a big, big smile on your face. Feeling good? Stress illaya? Jolly irka? This also you can do for yourself. There are also a lot of guided relaxation in YouTube. You can also play that. From 1 minute to 1 hour they have. Depending on your time, you can play it and do the relaxation. So these 3 things are actual tools that you can use on your day-to-day life to help you manage your stress. Will you all try this? Circuit fuse avakudadu inime namakku. Okay? Either we switch off or build capacity. Either of it we have to do. We have to take care of ourselves. We owe it to ourselves. Okay? Always put yourself first. Only then everything else will fall in place. Don't put yourself in the last to-do list la last podakudadu. First நம்ம தான் போடணும். First our breakfast, our movement, our breath work, our prayers, whatever it is. Do that. Then go give yourself out to the world. They will also benefit. You will also not burn out. Okay? Happy Women's Day to all of you once again. Thank you so much everybody.
Thank you, ma'am. Members, you can throw any questions if you have.
Hello, my name is Namagiri. My daughter is 18 years old. அவள் எப்படின்னாக்கா இப்போ பயங்கர ஸ்லீப் டிஸ்டர்பன்ஸ் இருக்குது அவளுக்கு. நான் என்ன நீங்கள் சொல்கிற மாதிரி எல்லாமே இதெல்லாம் கொடுக்குறதில்ல, மொபைல் கிடையாது அவகிட்ட, டிவி இல்லாமல் ஸ்விட்ச் ஆஃப் பண்ணிவிடுவோம். படிக்கிறது கூட ஒரு 9:30 ஒரு 10க்கு படுத்துக்க வரானாக்கா அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒன்றும் நீ படிக்க வேண்டாம் அப்படின்னுட்டோ எல்லாம் ஃப்ரீயாக. பட் எனிவே வந்து எல்லா நாளுமே வந்து தூங்க மாட்டேன்றான். நல்லா சாப்பிட்றா. ஃபுட் வைஸ் ஷி வில் டேக் வாட் எவர். ரொம்ப வந்து ஜங்க் ஃபுட்லாம் நான் பண்ண மாட்டேன், அதெல்லாம் ஐ ஒன்ட் கிவ் யர். நார்மல் டயட் தான், சவுத் இண்டியன் ஃபுட் அந்த மாதிரி எல்லா டைமும் நல்லா சாப்பிட்டு எல்லாம் இது பண்ணுவாள். பட் சம்வே ஆர் த அதர் ஃபஸ்ட்லாம் வந்து பயத்தில் ஏதோ வளர்றா அப்படிலாம் இது பண்ணிட்டு இருந்தாக்க இப்போ நவடேஸ் இட் பிகேம்ஸ் வெரி மச் ஃப்ரீக்வெண்ட்லி. பட் அப்புறமா கேட்டோன்னா அவளுக்கு வந்து ஞாபகம் இல்லை என்ன ஏன் அந்த மாதிரி இதாகுது. ஸோ இப்போ அவளுக்கு டிஸ்டர்ப் ஆகிறதுனால எனக்கும் வந்து ஸ்லீப் டிஸ்டர்பன்ஸ் ரொம்ப இதுவாகுது. ஸோ
ஓகே மேம், ஸோ நான் வந்து நியூட்ரிஷன் பர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ்லேருந்து சொல்கிறேன். ஸோ 18 இயர்ஸ் நீங்கள் சொல்கிற ஏஜ் வந்து அகேன் ஒன் ஆஃப் த ஹையஸ்ட் ஸ்ட்ரெஸ்ட் அவுட் பீரியட் ஸ்கூல் டேஸில் அவங்களுக்கு. ஸோ அது மேனிஃபெஸ்ட் ஆகிறது வந்து ஸ்லீப் டிஸ்டர்பன்ஸாக வரலாம். இன்னொன்று ஐ திங்க் நீங்கள் டாக்டர்கிட்ட கூட்டிகிட்டு போய் ஸ்லீப் அப்னியா டெஸ்ட் மட்டும் எடுத்து பாருங்கள். ஏன்னா நீங்கள் சொல்கிற நிறைய சிம்டம்ஸ் வந்து ஸ்லீப் அப்னியா மாதிரி இருக்குது.
அப்படின்னா எந்த டாக்டர்கிட்ட போனி எந்த மாதிரி டெஸ்ட்?
நீங்கள் ஃபஸ்ட்டு ஜென்ரல் டாக்டர், உங்களுக்கு ஃபேமிலி டாக்டர் இருந்தாங்கன்னா அவங்கக்கிட்ட போகலாம். அவங்க சஜஸ்ட் பண்ணுவாங்க உங்களுக்கு. ஸ்லீப் அப்னியானா என்னென்னா அவங்களோட ப்ரீதிங் பேட்டர்ன் ரொம்ப டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டாக இருக்கனால அவங்க டீப் ஸ்லீப்குள்ளே போக மாட்டாங்க. தேல் ஸ்லீப் 8 hours தூங்குவாங்க, ஆனால் எந்திரிக்கும் போது they won't even have that feel that நான் ஒரு 1 hour தூங்கினேன். they won't feel rested. ஸோ அதனால அவங்களுக்கு கான்சன்ட்ரேஷன் கம்மியாகும். there are a lot of things. and also நீங்கள் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் டாக்டர்கிட்ட போங்க. இன்னொன்று நான் பார்த்த வரைக்கும் இப்போ ரீசெண்ட் டேஸில் ஸ்கூல் கிட்ஸ்க்கு 10th and 12th கிட்ஸ்க்கு மெக்னீஷியம் டெஃபிஷியன்சி ரொம்ப அதிகமாக இருக்குது. மெக்னீஷியம் டெஃபிஷியன்சி இஸ் டிரெக்ட்லி லிங்க் டு வெரி புவர் ஸ்லீப். ஸோ நீங்கள் மெக்னீஷியம் ரிச் ஃபுட்ஸ், பம்கின் சீட்ஸ், வாழைப்பழம்னாலும் ஐ வுட் சே நேந்திரம் பழம் இல்லைன்னா வந்து ரெட் பனானா, பிகாஸ் அதில் கொஞ்சம் எக்ஸ்ட்ரா இருக்கும். இல்லை மெக்னீஷியம் சப்ளிமெண்ட் ரொம்ப கம்மியாக இருந்தால் சப்ளிமெண்ட் இஸ் ஒன்லி ஆப்ஷன். ஸோ இது வந்து நியூட்ரிஷன் பர்ஸ்பெக்டிவ்.
ஆல்சோ எனி சார்ட் ஆஃப் ஃபிசிக்கல் ஆக்டிவிட்டி அவுட்டோர்ஸ், ஒரு வாக்கிங்கோ இல்லாட்டி ஒரு ரன்னிங், சைக்கிளிங், வாட் எவர்.
அது எல்லாமே பண்ணுறேன். இப்போ நவ் ஷீஸ் 11th to 12th போகிறா. நான் முதல்ல ஸ்டடீஸ் இதெல்லாம் சொல்லிட்டு அதுக்கப்புறம் ஐ டோன்ட் கிவ் தட் மச் ஆஃப் ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் டு ஹர் ஸ்டடீஸ். நீ என்ன படிக்கிற, என்ன மார்க் வாங்குற, ஓகே பரவாயில்ல, என்ன அது பண்ணுறியோ பண்ணிக்கோ. பட் இட்ஸ் கோயிங் ஆன். இப்போ பார்த்தீங்கன்னாக்கா நாட் ஓன்லி ஆன் த எக்ஸாம் டேஸ், நார்மலாக இருக்கிற ஹாலிடேஸ்லாம் கூட அந்த மாதிரி ஷீ இஸ் கோயிங், வாக்கிங் எல்லாமே இருக்குது.
சன்லைட் எக்ஸ்போஷர் அந்த டைமில் ஆஸ்க் ஹர் டு கோ அவுட் அண்ட் டெஃபினெட்லி ஸ்லீப் ஆப்னியா டெஸ்ட் எடுங்க. ஏன்னா அது வந்து இட் டசன்ட் கிவ் ஆக்சிஜன் டு த பிரெயின். அந்த கண்டிஷன் இருந்ததுன்னா ஷி மே நாட் ஈவன் ஹேவ் இட் ஃபார் ஆல் வி நோ, பட் ஜஸ்ட் கெட் இட் டெஸ்டட். தேங்க்யூ.
தேங்க்யூ.
இருக்காது. அப்போதான் லஞ்ச் சாப்பிட்ருப்போம். அதுக்கப்புறம் ஒரு நோட்டீஸ், ஏதாவது ஜிஎஸ்டி நோட்டீஸ் ஏதோ ஒன்று வந்துடும். வந்த உடனே நமக்கு வந்து அப்படியே போய் எதையாவது ஒன்று எடுத்து சாப்பிட்டா நல்லா இருக்கும், அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஃபீலிங் இருக்கும். அது சாப்பிடும்போது உள்ளேயும் போகாது அந்த சாப்பாடு, ஏன்னா ஆல்ரெடி ஃபுல்லாக இருக்கும். பட் அது சாப்பிட அதனால நிறைய இஷ்யூஸ் வருது. ஸோ ஹவு டு அவாய்ட் திஸ்? இதை அவாய்ட் பண்ணுறது எப்படி பண்ணலாம், பர்டிகுலர்லி ஆஃப்டர் லஞ்ச்?
ஓகே, அவங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி திஸ் இஸ் எக்ஸாக்ட்லி கால் ஸ்ட்ரெஸ் ஈட்டிங், எமோஷ்னல் ஈட்டிங். இது வந்து ஒரு 4-5 விஷயம் வச்சு அவாய்ட் பண்ணலாம். பட் ஆனால் இட் டிபெண்ட்ஸ் ஆன் ஈச் பீப்புள். ஒன்று வந்து நம்மளோட ஃபுட்டு பார்த்திங்கன்னா கார்போஹைட்ரேட்ஸ் லோடாக இருந்ததுன்னு வச்சுக்கோங்க. வெறும் ரைஸ், வெறும் சப்பாத்தி, வெறும் பிரெட், ரொம்ப கம்மியான பொரியல், காய், ரொம்ப கம்மியான பருப்பு ஒரு நான்வெஜ் இருக்கும்போது உங்களோட சுகர் லெவல் என்ன ஆகும் தெரியுங்களா? நம்ம பாடி சுகர் லெவல் டக்குன்னு ஸ்பைக் ஆகும். இட் வில் பி லைக் ஸ்பைக், இம்மீடியட் கிராஷ் ஆகும். ஸ்பைக் ஆச்சுன்னா என்ன ஆகும்? மேலே டக்குன்னு போச்சுன்னா என்ன ஆகும்? இம்மீடியட்டாக கீழே வரும் இல்லைங்களா? தட்ஸ் எக்ஸாக்ட்லி வென் யூ வாண்ட் ஈட் சம்திங் எல்ஸ். அதுவும் அந்த சாப்பிட்றது எப்படி தெரியுமா இருக்குங்க? அப்போ நான் வந்து உங்களுக்கு பருப்பு சாதம் கொடுத்தேன்னா உங்களுக்கு பிடிக்கவே பிடிக்காது. யூ வாண்ட் சம்திங் இன்டெலிஜென்ட், கேக், காஃபி வித் லாட் ஆஃப் சுகர், சிப்ஸ், ஒன்லி இன்டெலிஜென்ட் ஃபுட், விச் மீன்ஸ் நீங்கள் சொன்ன மாதிரி பசி கிடையாது. ஸோ உங்களோட ஃபுட்டில் அதிகமான காயும் ப்ரோட்டீனும் எடுத்துகிட்டு அதை விட கம்மியான ரைஸ் எடுக்கும்போது, ரைஸ் ஆர் கார்ப்ஸ் எடுக்கும்போதே யூ வில் ஃபீல் அ பிக் டிஃப்ரென்ஸ். செகண்ட் ரீசன் என்னென்னா, ஸ்பெஷலி விமனுக்கு இது நடக்குதுன்னா, உங்களோட பாடியில் omega-3 ரொம்ப கம்மியாக இருக்குன்னு அர்த்தம். நான்வெஜ் சாப்பிட்றவங்களுக்கு வெல் அண்ட் குட், பட் நான்வெஜ் சாப்பிட்டாலுமே எவ்ரிடே சாப்பிட முடியாது இல்லைங்களா? ஐம் நாட் அ பர்சன் ஹூ ரெக்கமெண்ட் சப்ளிமெண்ட்ஸ் அவ்வளோ சீக்கிரமாக. ஐ பிலீவ் இன் இந்தியன் ஃபுட் விஸ்டம். ஆனால் omega-3 வைட்டமின் டி மட்டும் சப்ளிமெண்ட் தவிர வேறு ஆப்ஷனே கிடையாது. ஸோ டேக் அ omega-3 சப்ளிமெண்ட், குட் குவாலிட்டி omega-3 சப்ளிமெண்ட். இட்ஸ் லைக் அன் இன்வெஸ்ட்மெண்ட் என்னை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் விமென்ஸ் ஹெல்த்துக்கு ஆஃப்டர் 30. ஹாவ் இட் அலாங் வித் யுவர் லஞ்ச். செகண்ட். தேர்ட், அவங்க சொன்னதான், உங்களோட கார்டிசால் அதிகமாக இருக்கும்போது திஸ் அ ட்ரிகர். நீங்கள் அந்த எமோஷனல் ஈட்டிங் அவங்க சொன்னாங்க ஜிஎஸ்டி ஃபைலிங் வரும்போது தான் அது வருது அப்படின்னு சொல்லி. ஸோ தட்ஸ் லைக் அ ட்ரிகர் ஃபார் யூ. அந்த ட்ரிகர் வரும்போது ஃபுட் இல்லாமல் வேறு ஏதாவது ஒன்று கண்டுபிடிங்க அதை வந்து சப்சைட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு. அவங்க சொன்ன ப்ரீதிங் இஸ் அன் அமேசிங் திங். அண்ட் ஆல்சோ ஐம் கோனா டெல் யூ ஒன் மோர் திங். உங்களோட கார்டிசால் பயங்கர ஹையாக இருக்கும்போது நீங்கள் என்ன சாப்பிட்டீங்கனாலும் உங்கள் பிரெயினுக்கு சுத்தமாக போகாது. இட் வில் டிரெக்ட்லி கோ டு யுவர் டம்மி. நான் ஸ்டார்டிங்கில் சொன்ன ஞாபகம் இருக்குங்களா? நமக்கு வயிறு வந்து கொஞ்சம் பெல்லி அதிகமாக இருக்குன்னா இட்ஸ் ஒன்லி பிகாஸ் உங்களோட கார்டிசால் அதிகமாக இருக்கும்போது நீங்கள் சாப்பிட்றீங்க. ஸோ த ஒன்லி வே இஸ் ஹர் ஹம்மிங் ப்ரீத் பண்ணதுக்கப்புறம் சாப்பிடும்போது your cortisol will automatically subside. So it will fuel your body and your brain instead of your tummy. Yeah. So that's third way. Fourth way வந்து we have to find a different strategy to overcome our triggers. GST filing or client calls or whatever it is, find a different one. I'm going to share mine. I go for a walk. Immediately, mobile illama I go for a walk. So it will clear off your head. Few people ku வந்து யாராவது பேசுறது, பாட்டு கேட்குறது, Aruna will be able to help. But you have to find a different coping mechanism. You're finding comfort in the food, find a different coping mechanism. Yeah, we all have it and please don't feel guilty. We all go through it. அவங்க சொன்ன மாதிரி என்னோட daughter 2 years இருக்கும்போது the minute she starts to feel cranky, I'll go and open the fridge. So I also have went through that phase, but you have to figure out a different strategy. Yeah.
நீங்கள் இது பண்ணுங்க. அண்ட் காலையில் ஸ்டார்ட் யோர் டே இன் அ காம் வே. ஃபில் யோர் கப் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் அண்ட் தென் யூ அப்ரோச் யோர் டே. மோஸ்ட் ஆஃப் த டைம் யூ வில் நாட் நீட் தட் கம்ஃபர்ட் ஈட்டிங். So yeah, I hope it helps. It comes with practice. Overnight la ninnidada, but over a period of time you will notice that you are not reaching out for food for comfort. It happens, but you have to be diligent with your practices. அது மட்டும் கொஞ்சம் பார்த்துக்கோங்க. Breathing, at least you start and see how it works for you. I think that's all the time we
Yes,
have. அப்போ கேட்கக்கூடாது தான், நீ என்ன ஒபே பண்ணல, நானும் ஒபே பண்ண மாட்டேன், அவ்வளோதான். தென் யூ சி, இதெல்லாம் வந்து வெரி லோ பார்ஸ். வி ஆர் நாட் கோயிங் டு சேஞ்ச் அவர் ட்ரெஸ், யோகா மேட்டை விரிச்சு உடனே 10 சூரிய அதெல்லாம் பண்ண போகிறதில்ல. உட்காந்த இடத்துல ஃபோனை வச்சுட்டு ப்ரீத் பண்ண போகிறோம். என்ன பிரச்சனை உனக்கு அப்படின்னு கேட்டுட்டு பண்ணுங்க, அவ்வளோதான். Don't listen to your mind. Just like how your mind doesn't listen to you, you also don't listen to your mind, and then just do it, அவ்வளோதான். And it comes with practice. We have to build that power to override our... See, the body and the mind always takes the least effort path. Why do we all slouch and sit? Body doesn't have to put any effort. ஜாலியாக இருக்கும். Spine straight உட்காந்து பாருங்க, it takes effort. You have to use your muscles. It always takes the path of least resistance. And how do you overcome it? Slowly over time by building that capacity. Doesn't happen overnight, but yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the refreshing and informative session. Members may pose a question later. Yeah, thank you. May I request Chairman C.A. Subbarao Mupala, Secretary C.A. Pramod Rammohan Hegde, and Vice Chairman Sunil Kumar Mandava to kindly escort our speaker C.A. Adv T.V.Muthu Abirami to the dais. C.A. Saradha will join us in some time. As a token of our respect and appreciation, I invite our Vice Chairman Sunil Kumar Mandava to kindly present a memento to speaker. Introduction of the speaker. CA Advocate T.V.Muthu Abirami is a practicing advocate with over 15 years of experience in income tax litigation, combining expertise as both a chartered accountant and a lawyer. She holds a BA LLB honors from the School of Excellence in Law, Chennai, LLM Business Laws from TN Dr. Ambedkar Law University, is a qualified chartered accountant and has a post-qualification diploma in international taxation from ICI. She is currently pursuing a PhD in law. She regularly appears before prestigious forums including the Madras High Court, Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, National Company Law Tribunal and other quasi-judicial authorities. A frequent speaker and faculty for ICI and academic institutions. She Saradha is a distinguished chartered accountant specializing in GST, co-founder and designated partner of GGSH. She began her career at KPMG and has extensive experience advising large corporates. She is an expert in GST advisory, litigation compliance and transaction structuring. Thank you. And we now move to our second technical session. The topic is the what and how the tax litigations representations before the tax authorities. So tax litigation is a critical area for practicing professionals, and understanding the practical aspects of representation is extremely valuable. So to share their expertise, we are privileged to have with CA Advocate T.V.Muthu Abirami and Saradha. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Very warm good afternoon to everybody. Once Saradha comes, we will have more of a dialogue kind of session. But before that, I thought we will just introduce the topic. It needs no introduction in the sense representation aspects of tax litigation is always a different field, always a rewarding field, and always a challenging field as well. So now we have been listening to audit controls, forensic audit, nutrition and stress management, while topic on audit helps us manage risk, and the topic on nutrition and yoga helps us balance our mind and make it calm. We require both when it comes to tax representation and tax litigation. You know, you get notice late in the night at 11:55, client sends you a message, you open the portal and see, and you find 40-page order being passed, your submissions, officer submission. So this stress has no limits at all. Definitely what has been suggested is required for all of us. And how do we start and end our day? Portal. Start your day with the portal, end your day with the portal. So I always think if the portal had a face, we would have a very committed relationship with it. It may be toxic, but very committed. The portal doesn't work most of the time. We all know that. We have the difficulty. For the whole day, we'll be trying to upload one submission. And what happens in the end? Internal server error. And you think, okay, and a grievance mechanism laan theriyo, I will go and raise a grievance. Only then you'll realize grievance also doesn't work. Grievance vela seranu or thaniya or grievance podno. Handling clients. They say, okay, notice vandirukku, give us some data. Everything is available, madam. That means nothing is available. After 23 reminder mails to the client, as if they are your advocates and you are the client who is suffering. Every blue tick has no response. Sir, data. Sir, bank statement. Sir, ledger copies. Nothing. After 23 emails, reminders, you may get documents like final. Use only this final PDF. All tilted at 37 degrees. Stretch your neck. So some yoga might help how to make our neck straight. Stretch your neck and see. And then you find that one crucial document, the bank statement which states that you have deposited cash, that notice, that statement would be missing. So we no longer read documents, we investigate documents. Get blurred. Zoom it, nothing. Zoom down, nothing. It disappears also. Just like how portal teaches us patience. Nothing can teach patience more than what portal does to us. So you upload something today, after 3 days it is gone. Nothing is permanent in life. See, it teaches you philosophy. Try for the whole yogis, we do meditation and all, and they contemplate on silence. What do we contemplate? We contemplate on portal status, how it's working or not. So with all this only we have to take care of the professional practice of an income tax practitioner, a life of an income tax practitioner. I always feel that this is not a profession, this is a lifestyle condition. You don't enter a tax practice, it enters you slowly. Bar Act, notification, case law, finally through your dream also you get to see only income tax. That is how it is. And preparation strategy is altogether a different marathon. It's an Olympic sport. The night before the hearing is more like an Olympic sport. At 11:45 you have 12 PDFs, 4 paper books, 2 case law books to complete. At 2 a.m. you find an eureka moment. Okay, I found this point to win the case. At 4 a.m. you realize that the department already has a case against you. At 5 p.m. dawns realization. Let me just ask for a remand back, not for a quash. That's how you begin. So all the strategies and other things, so much things to... I started off on a lighter note to say that this field of tax litigation is both a challenging one as well as a rewarding one. You ask me how it is rewarding in the sense, if you can navigate this, you can navigate anything. They say it's firefighting all the time. Litigation is firefighting. You don't know, just you'll have at least 5 appeals to start today, to have the deadlines to be completed today. You have at least 3 notices coming asking you to file your return submissions by day after tomorrow. So you're always on that firefighting mode, like the previous speaker said, your body can't handle stress all the time. So this is how it is. But there are a lot of ways in which we can navigate this. This opening, a few remarks that I wanted to share is all about, yes, we have stress, we know where the problems are. At the same time, we can also navigate that and come up with easy solution. So on a lighter note, what I started. Now, coming to the representation part. So we'll now turn more serious. Huh? Yeah. So litigation doesn't mean that it starts only at CIT appeals level or at the tribunal level or at the court level. Litigation, the potential for a litigation starts at the written filing level itself. how much care we take in filling our returns. That's very, very important. We are just handling a case, and let me put in a lot of examples, the cases that we have handled, so that I could connect and say how it could be useful to you. In a way, if it can strike a chord, if it can give you one more solution, it'll be easy, I think. So one case we are just handling it. We are just filing an appeal against that. It is a case of a trust where the columns were wrongly filled. The utilization column of 15%, that was not filled properly. It was taken and filled in some other column. Then they have filled a column where foreign spending, you spend outside the India. That column they've given wrongly where there is zero spending. So one small error in the return filing, what had happened is that the client wanted to file a revised return. By the time 143.1 has arrived, therefore they could not go for a revised return. The time was also over. They didn't want to go for a condonation. So what they did is they went ahead and filed a rectification petition, and that rectification petition got rejected. Against rectification, they went for a 264 revision. That 264 revision they had to withdraw because the commissioner said that we are no longer, you will not be able to get the relief, so better you withdraw. Saradha is here. Yes. Hi. So,
Welcome, Saradha.
So the rectification petition, the commissioner said, okay, you better withdraw this because you might not get a remedy. So the client went ahead and withdrew the 264 petition and filed an appeal against a 154 order. After that, in the CIT appeal, they didn't get any remedy. So now they are before the tribunal. Look, why I started off saying is that litigation, the potential for litigation starts at the level of filing your return of income. So at that level when it starts, so care must be taken right from that stage itself to avoid any mishaps so that it doesn't lead to litigation. I'll tell you, the best litigation strategy is not about framing big strategies and winning. The best litigation strategy is to avoid litigation. That's how the operation happens. Only if you're not able to avoid, you see the ways. It's a remedy. It's basically remedy. So it starts from, as I said, it starts from your return filing onwards. So I was just giving them a small peek into a life of a litigation practitioner, how difficult it is in a very lighter way. And I just started off stating that it starts at return filing level, and that's when you came. So can we have one more mic for Saradha? See, basically, like you look at it, this entire session was curated in the sense to upgrade our members, to have, to empower the members and to give them the requisite information about litigation practice and representation. So, yes, Saradha, you have some thoughts.
Very good afternoon, everyone, and I'm extremely sorry for being late here. I had to finish off another event and then be back here. And thank you so much for being so accommodative and nicely having started off this session. And I think Muthu Abirami have set the tone of the session in a real perfect sense, in the sense. See, as we talk about litigation, let's assume we are all into litigation. Fundamental thing is, for us, our business is into litigation. But for none of the businesses, their business is into litigation. So today, no company has the risk appetite when it comes to especially tax litigation. So I always used to tell this to my team also, please understand, what we are doing is not a yoga class. If it's a yoga class, people will come to the yoga class with a lot of interest and happiness because you are coming there for well-being. Unfortunately, we are running hospital which nobody wants to even come there. Whether anybody gets excited to go to the hospital, the answer is no. Correct. So as simple as that, when you are into litigation, none of the companies will get so much excited. Now that I have got a show cause notice, I have got a matter to handle. Unfortunately, we will only be happy about it. So that being the case, so as she rightly said, the approach towards litigation is not to handle the litigation, but to avoid the litigation. Now, why is it important for professionals like us to handle the litigation? Only when I know that this problem could turn out into this disease, I would be able to handle it at the symptom level itself. Correct? Only when I am aware of what kind of cure one has to struggle through when it comes to the, medicines or the treatments, etc., automatically the perspective towards my routine would change. So I think most of the litigations, as she rightly said, it all starts with basic compliance level issues. Especially, I'm sure all of you in GST would 100% agree with it. Correct? Because the kind of issues that we are seeing today is nothing to do with deep issues into GST. Most of it are something to do with common mistakes that could happen across a simple, the way in which e-way bill is generated, the way in which the returns are being filed, the way in which annual returns are being filed. Annual return, I would say it's only a trap. You can stop with 12 months return. Just because your 12 months return are not sufficient enough to create some show cause notice, that the 13th annual return is also being formed for no reason. You make some mistakes there, then also that's a trap. Okay. So the way in which we do the compliances would be altogether different the day we start realizing what is this litigation all about. Okay, but having said that, litigation from professionals' perspective would strengthen you, would give you abundant confidence. Because when you know this approach you take in litigation, you know what is the approach that you need to take at a compliance level. Okay, I mean, many of my friends are also here, they all know there is an issue with the e-way bill, somebody is caught, the vehicle is got caught, and suddenly you need to see how to resolve it. The issue starts with as simple as that. You never know, it's like, B2B. What is the delivery address? Whether the delivery address is registered or unregistered. So let's revisit in terms of what is the kind of professional opportunity that we are looking at. Okay. And the biggest problem with, what we are handling at compliance level is that we think that compliance gives us some kind of, remuneration and some kind of opportunities, etc. But having said that, trust me when I say this, compliances comes with a lot of risk, much more risk as compared to handle litigation. Because litigation, at least, we are framed a question. See, this is the question, please answer to that question. But when it comes to compliance, you are expected to do everything even without having a question in hand. Especially when it comes to audit. Simple client will tell you, Madam, நீங்க தானே எல்லாத்தையும் பார்த்தீங்க. எங்க புக்ஸே உங்ககிட்ட தானே இருக்கு. நீங்க தானே ரிட்டர்னே ஃபைல் பண்ணீங்க. So all these are the risks that we are taking when it comes to compliance handling. So unless we are clear about what could result in litigation and how do you handle things in the litigation, it is highly risky, I would put it that way, even to handle compliances as professionals. I think that's exactly the context in which the discussions were also revolving around. And see, even to set the, purpose of this, why do we have this topic as part of today's program is basically the idea is to empower. The idea is to empower more people stepping into the, litigation zone, which could be beyond what we are handling in terms of the compliances and audit. Because we recently had the experience of, presenting ourselves as arguing counsels in a moot tribunal, so which was organized by our SIRC ICA. That happened in Savera Hotel. So at that time, both of us she had the, opportunity of brilliantly arguing on ITAT. And I was also doing my part in GSTAT. So we had our own chances of putting forth what is litigation all about when it comes to the tribunal forte. Okay. So that's when, we have been called upon by Revati ma'am saying that, why don't you share your experiences of how it is to do the department representations, how is it to, basically handle matters at the tribunal level, so that it could give some kind of an eye-opener and some kind of, an information for other members also on how they can, whomever is interested to explore that path, it could probably give them a different perspective. As simple as this is the perspective or this is the purpose of this session. And, I want to ask you this question, okay. I know the path that you have chosen is a reverse of what most of the people in litigation would have done, okay. So just to give a context, Muthu Abirami, most of you would have heard chartered accountant turned advocate, right? So she is an exception who is an advocate turned chartered accountant. I just wanted to ask you this question, what made you think that as an advocate it is also important for you to have this professional course CA along with you? Because most of us have a different perspective. Even though I have CA for litigation, I need to have advocate, LLB in my hand. But what made you choose it the other way around?
Two answers to this. What was there, because I chose CA 20 years back. So what was it 20 years back and what it is today? I did law first for 5 years. I never had any idea about doing about CA and all. As a teenager, it's more on a rebel. And somebody says that you can't do something. You are not fit to do CA. You can't handle CA. You're useless. That was the tone in which I started CA. Not with a happy tone that, okay, na CA padikano, CA mudikano, not of that tone. Started off because my father kept insisting that maybe I will not be able to do CA. I may have not geared up for CA. So in that context, I started CA. So that is, even today when I meet children, the students, I tell them, if I can complete CA, you can all complete CA. Somebody who never had the intention to do CA, if they can complete CA, you can definitely do CA. So the starting context was that. But having said that, that's not what it is today. You evolve, you mature, you understand that parents don't instigate just for the sake of it, but it is for your good. I thank every day, even today, my father, had the gratitude, because law gives you the skill set to go and represent before the forum. The representation, it is there inherent. You have so many opportunities to go and present yourselves. I think CA syllabus might also change to some extent. Those of them who want to take up direct tax and indirect tax, the syllabus might also have things to say that how to do effective representation before various forums. One thing is that we have all the CP programs and other things. So law gives you that edge right from day one as a student. The depth of the subject comes because of CA. I have to admit that. I am doing tax litigation today, I am into income tax today, because the depth of it comes only from the background of a CA. Thirdly, outlook of life. If I can complete CA, anything is possible. Definitely each and every one of us will have that thought within us. Having completed CA, nothing is impossible. That whatever may be the benefits of this course, but one thing is that outlook change is what I saw, because many of the students must have taken CA at their 17, but I took it at 22, therefore 21, 22. Therefore, my outlook after taking the course is different. So that way, CA helps one in understanding the depth of income tax litigation for that matter. So it is complementary. You need both the content as well as the presentation skills. It is both is required. So I wouldn't really call it as CA turned advocate or an advocate turned CA, but I see both the professions as a complement in bringing the best to your client. From that angle, if you see, it is. And now, delving a little deep into the topic, question to you would be, assessment for income tax and GST varies. Income tax now it has completely gone into faceless. So our focus is more today on how to get your documentation right, how to effectively present the case so that the officer who is burdened with so many number of cases still find that your case is worthy of allowing the order in your favor. So documentation has a key role when it comes to faceless assessment. Because I find that GST still physical assessment is happening. So what would you suggest our members when it comes to representing before GST authorities?
See, talking about this faceless assessment, I am not into income tax practice, but something that I keep hearing from those who are handling this faceless assessment is also that it's relatively much more challenging, because the person may not even have the business understanding also, and still they may want to do this assessment, etc. And most of the time it feels like
it's also
even
a change. Previously, you just go to the income tax officer's room and you say, "Sir, idan disallowance, idukku enna document venum solunga, we will file it across," and you explain him ipdi dhaan vandirukku, and then you close it off. But like you said, it is now challenging. GST perspective la, how do you see this?
See, from GST perspective, I'll put it this way. Though we are currently not having this faceless assessment system, everything is now through portal records, unlike how it used to be in the VAT period, etc. So though we say that there is, it's a faceless, you have to face the officer, that's a different story. But whatever you face the officer, how much ever you want to persuade the officer in all different means, End of the day, everything is on document. And officers today are not taking the decision that easily because they know that these documents are being captured in the online portal. And unless otherwise, I am very confident about the order that I am going to pass today, so that it's not going to again get into another trap in the audit. Because tomorrow they are also answerable. Now, more than, to be precise, officers are not greatly concerned about their own revenue. They are still more concerned about the department's revenue, to be more precise. Okay. Because the kind of pressure that is there when it comes to the revenue collection. See, unfortunately, the biggest problem in GST as compared to income tax is that the government itself is under the pressure to every month disclose what is the collection for the month. So many lakhs and crores of collection.
Do you still have to visit an officer even if you upload the documents in the portal when it comes to GST?
Technically, you are not required to.
You are not required. So
in fact, there is also a circular, there is also an instruction very clearly from the central GST perspective that going forward it's going to be only virtual meeting. And only if the assessee is choosing, they can go for in-person meeting. So it's only a step away, I will put it that way. Okay. But the officers are not sitting somewhere in some part of the India. The officers are
same officer, same jurisdictional officer would be sitting over there.
Yes. Okay. In fact, I'll share with you one of the experience what I had. A couple of months ago, I had to go and take up a appeal PH in the next building, GST Bhavan. And when I went there and then I said, I have come for the so-and-so PH. To my surprise, he said, why did you come here? You're not supposed to come because the mail is very clear. You're only supposed to attend virtually. And if you want to attend virtually, you're supposed to, if you want to come in person, you're supposed to give a request to come in person. Only then we can entertain in person. And then he made me wait. Since I said, sir, I have anyway come, I'm willing to attend in person. Then he said, why don't you wait for some more time? Ask your client to first send an email to me.
Okay.
Right away, stating that
so that the portal will be opened and notice will be issued and then you can just go.
It's not about the portal related regulation, but at least he want to make sure that there is a record that the SSE wants to come in person. They have sought for in-person personal hearing. Okay. And only then I want to take up the hearing. Okay. But having said that, is that the system which is currently followed? The answer is no. This is an experience which I had 6 months before. And now we are back to same physical PH. Yes, we are back to physical PH. But on top of it, what is also happening is, let's say even if you are going to take up the virtual matter, unfortunately today, unless and otherwise you go meet the officer, everything gets into an adverse order. This kind of a practice is definitely there when it comes to GST. Okay.
Yes, because we are also looking at courts when it comes to GST writs. All the documents are submitted because we also handle a couple of GST writs when it comes to us. So all the documents would be available on the portal. And 1 or 2 PH hearings must have also been taken up. Yet the order goes against the SSE.
See, the problem is it's not a question of all documents being submitted. Where, let me tell you where, people who are into litigation, where there is a missing area is, it's not a question of how many documents you dump. It's a question of how much strategy you have in place. Let me give you an example. How many of you have had ASMT? It's a very simple, every Tom, Dick and Harry would have had ASMT. How many of you have given a detailed response for ASMT? Giving all perfect reconciliation, number difference, etc., etc. Despite having given the response with all these details, have you ended up again in show cause notice for the same matter? Yes. Now, why did you choose to give the detailed response for ASMT? That is where the strategy comes into the place. Not responding for ASMT is any day better than responding for ASMT. Because by effectively responding for ASMT, you are admitting a difference. Have you ever given a disclaimer to say that I'm not admitting a difference? We are in the rush to say, no, you have given 50 lakhs, it's not 50 lakhs, my actual difference is only 15 lakhs.
No, but then if you don't choose to reply, it was actually seen as an adverse perspective from the court's perspective, I'm saying. You need not say that, or you can say the difference, but you have to give the reasons for the difference. Because it's not like you don't reply to a notice and then, okay, I am not replying, let it come, whatever. No, I don't think that is the right approach when it comes to the next level of litigation.
I'll tell you what. See, if you see even the writ petition orders,
even
how
even
the
appeals,
court is,
I say.
even
Even
appeals also, how they are seeing.
When I'm saying this, when it comes to an appellate forum, any document that you have not filed before the assessing officer becomes an additional evidence. At first appeal level, you have, from income tax perspective, I am saying, when at first appeal level, you have certain criteria, 46A, if these conditions are there, you can go and file your additional evidence. But if you look at the second appeal at tribunal levels, they will not admit it unless the court is convinced. So it's a reverse. It's not a matter of right that you can file an additional evidence. That is one thing. So second thing is that when you're fighting litigation, you have to keep the appeal in mind when you're giving your replies.
Perfect.
So what if the appellate authority seeks this, and I am putting it across today. How will an appellate authority look at me when I choose to keep quiet and then suffer an adverse order and then dump documents at appellate level and say that, okay, now you go back to the assessing officer level. So I differ in that strategy in saying that not to give a detailed reply. You can give a reply even though there is a difference. All of us know that if our compliance, again going back to the basics, if our compliance is proper, the difference would have some reason for that. I have also seen some people taking the strategy that you don't give any reply on merits, take only the legality. Some
No, that doesn't work.
I have seen, because even in income tax, some cases come to us only at tribunal level. So we have seen that people are replying only on legality and not giving any responses on merits. They challenge the reopening and they don't give any reply on merits. So that is also not one to be seen. You have to have, having said about the legality part of it, the legal jurisdiction aspect of it, many a times the courts have said that even though NTPC, National Thermal Power Corporation judgment is there, where a question of jurisdiction can be raised at any point of time at CIT level or ITAT level, wherever it is, you can raise it. But still, nevertheless, the courts sometimes say that you have not raised this legality issue of jurisdiction before the lower authorities. Therefore, I'm remitting it back. You can raise the jurisdiction issue there down, and after it gets rejected or admitted as the case may be, you can come back on appeal. So I think it is essential to give the issues on legality as well as the issues on merits. Come back with your defense on why there is a difference, so that at appeal level you are not seen as a non-compliant assessee. Because time and again in tribunal, from an income tax perspective, I am saying ex parte orders are frowned upon. You don't choose to reply for assessment, you don't choose to reply for CAT. First time I am coming before the tribunal saying I am filing a Rule 29 petition, I am dumping the documents, let it go back to the AO. That should not be the strategy. Rather, I think to reduce the life cycle of litigation, at the first instance, it is important to provide all documents in your support, anticipating what the appellate authorities could question, or the assessing officer also, when you're producing those documents, could question, so that you are in the right books when it comes to the appellate forum.
Okay, so let me complete whatever that I was discussing about. Okay, so as you rightly said, responding at the first level is important, but we need to understand what is first level. ASMT is not the first level. Show cause notice is the first level. ASMT is a pre-show cause notice as compared to show cause notice response. Not responding to show cause notice is never a relief. We need to respond to the show cause notice on technicalities as well as on the merits. Now, the ASMT which we are referring to be precise, in the GST context, is pre-show cause notice intimation. Now, the more you try to admit differences or admit errors in the pre-show cause notice, that becomes a strong relied upon document at the show cause notice level. So, you need to, that is exactly where the strategy comes into the picture. The strategy is not, see, it's not just about knowing what, it's not just about knowing to speak when, it is also equally important knowing when not to speak. Knowing when to speak, knowing when not to speak. Both are equally important. So I just come back to the same example which I was referring to. Let's say if your show cause notice says 2A, 3B difference 50 lakhs. And then you give a detailed reply, no, you are wrong. How can you say 50 lakhs? My actual difference is only 20 lakhs. Gone. What are you trying to say? You are only trying to admit that you have got 20 lakhs of difference. Right? So you need to know at what point of time, what kind of challenge that you need to make. This is exactly where your strategy also comes into the picture. See, let's say if I have to raise a show cause notice, forget about this 2A, 3B difference. If an officer has to issue a show cause notice for a particular matter where, let's say there is an asset which has moved from X to Y. There are two ways in which I can raise the issue. Now that you have moved from X to Y, you pay the tax. There is another way to also raise the show cause notice stating you have moved it from X to Y and hence X is supposed to reverse the credit because you have not paid the tax. Two ways possible. Or there is a third way also to say that now that you have made this movement from X to Y, make it as a composite supply and pay the tax. So imagine officer can raise any type of show cause notice for the underlying same issue. Okay. Now let's say if I choose to make a correction. No, what you are trying to say is wrong. X to Y cannot be a supply for all these 100 reasons. Now you are effectively giving the opportunity for the officer to rewrite the show cause notice. It is like, playing chess. The more you should know when to move which piece. Correct. So your strategy comes into the picture very much, because here by choosing to respond too much, you are admitting too many errors. Every admission of error at the ASMT level, I'm not talking about the show cause notice. At a show cause notice, it's a different stage. Any kind of unnecessary admission before show cause notice, it is actually becoming a relied upon documentary evidence for the officer. But whatever that you are going to, once the show cause notice is raised, let's make it very clear, the officer can only keep traveling in the same issue. Appeal, tribunal, whatever it is. But before issuing show cause notice, the officer has the option to change his stand, change the grounds, change the interpretation. Now that you have issued the show cause, because it's a time-tested, time-tested approach from the court that your order cannot go beyond show cause notice. Your appeal order cannot go beyond the original order. So there is only one ground. What is the issue that is raised? The same issue is going to travel across the entire litigation. My only point here is that don't try to overcorrect things. Don't try to point out every mistake the officer has made at the pre-show cause notice stage. It is like, you are trying to teach him how to make it better and strengthen his position. You can respond to the ASMT stating, I don't admit this tax liability for so and so reason. But by giving too much of information, you are effectively giving him too much of better ways to write the show cause notice. That is exactly why I told you it's very important to know. If you give that response in show cause notice, well and good. Now he does not have the opportunity to go back and correct his mistake. He can at best try to say, no, I am right. Whatever I have done is all right. Because I cannot change my stand now. I have taken a position. The officer takes a very firm position. Please understand, even in Supreme Court matters, there have been several cases where the court is trying to understand, have you raised these issues at the show cause notice itself? Have you given these responses at the show cause notice itself? So somewhere, when it comes to however way the matters are happening in tax issues, whether it is income tax or GST, show cause notice plays a very, 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 very crucial role. It is from both the ends. For the officer also, how you draft the show cause notice is very important. And for the assessee also, how you respond to the show cause notice is very important. So the response to the show cause notice should be in bifold. As she rightly pointed out, when you write a response to the show cause notice, you should not think, how can I write so that this officer, I know I can persuade that officer. This officer is there today. By the time this matter comes for order, it could be some other officer. Appeal could be taken up by some other officer. So don't write your responses based on who is the officer. We get too much carried away by knowing the issue, by knowing the client, by knowing the officer. All these are irrelevant. Our approach should be, there are only dual approach. Approach number, if this matter has to travel up to tribunal, how it will travel? Have I adequately safeguarded the client today in such a way that tomorrow he is not going to be in trouble in the tribunal stage? So as I told you, it's more about how you play chess. It's not about whether you move the pawn or the rook now. It's more about, if I make this move, what is going to be the next move from the other side? If that next move is going to come, let's say there are three possible moves. For that, what should be my next move? You should be able to anticipate at least next 5 moves. And that is how you need to reverse work and make this move that you are going to do now. And that 5 moves is what is leading to tribunal. Do you get my point? So we need to basically have a strategy in place. The strategy is not about what is the piece that I am going to move in which direction today. The strategy is nothing but if I'm going to make this move, what is going to be the counter? What would be my next counter? So if this case is going to travel up to tribunal, whether I am confident of handling this matter at that point of time, to effectively safeguard that, what kind of position am I taking now? This is approach number 1. Okay, but unfortunately, as I told you, nobody likes litigation. The moment you tell client, don't worry sir, the way I'm going to give the response for your show cause notice, definitely you will win in the tribunal. No client will come to you. Correct. So your approach towards getting it resolved should be in the best interest of client. How can I conclude this matter at this stage? So there should be a dual approach. Whenever it comes to any litigation for that matter, there should be a dual approach. Having effectively safeguarded all kind of matters that is possible when it comes to, if at all this matter has to travel up to tribunal. So this is exactly why. Take a simple classic example that everybody has faced. Let's say 2A 3B difference. Okay. Straight away don't go and admit saying, no, your difference is wrong, this is my correct difference. Then it is as good as you are admitting what is the number. Then what the client will do in tribunal? They'll simply say, already you admitted your difference in the show cause notice itself. Your case is gone. Correct? So first you need to take a position that please understand whatever credit that I have taken is all valid credit. I have made sure that all the conditions under 16.2 are satisfied. I am not obligated to do is through 2A 3B difference. That is not going to help me in any way for this 16.2C satisfaction. So you need to effectively safeguard the client completely. Approach number 1. And approach number 2 is where whatever I say, if I am going to take up all these arguments, neither the adjudication officer nor the first level officer is interested to listen to me. I can give him Arise India, I can give him DY Bethel, I can tell him what Madras High Court says, I can tell him what Supreme Court says. They will not listen to all these. For them, the question is very simple. Can you prove that your supplier has paid the tax? Yes or no? Give me a certificate under 183, then I will consider this. If you are not able to give it, please get lost. I'm going to dismiss the matter, take it up for appeal. So this is exactly where your secondary position comes into the picture. The secondary position is where you are going to choose that I am also going to tell my client, please give me a proof that your supplier has paid the taxes. So please understand, in a rush of taking secondary approach, don't miss out on your first level approach. Because let's say if the total difference is 20 lakhs and your client is only able to give you proof for 5 lakhs, then what happens for the 15 lakhs? Then what will happen? Your client, let's say, is going to go to some other professional. That some other professional will say, என்ன பண்ணி வச்சிருக்காங்க, எடுத்த உடனே டிஃபரன்ஸ் எல்லாத்தையும் அட்மிட் பண்ணி வச்சிருக்காங்க, யார் உங்களுக்கு இந்த ரெஸ்பான்ஸை வந்து டிராஃப்ட் பண்ணி கொடுத்தாங்க? கரெக்ட்? See, it's not a question of, how much we charge for the client. At some point of time, this is my art, this is my craft. This paper should speak for my worth. It has to speak for my value. Correct? So what approach you take, how do you effectively safeguard your client from tribunal perspective is equally as important as how do you effectively give him relief at this stage itself as much as possible. So this is the dual approach that normally we take when it comes to GST related matters, litigations. Always take a dual approach. Safeguard as if this matter is going to go to Supreme Court. Whatever position that I may want to take up at the higher forum, whether I have taken up all those positions at this stage. Second thing is, having taken all that, my idea is not to keep on litigating. Is there any way I can complete the litigation process at this stage? So I think that's pretty much the same way in which it would work in the income tax litigation as well. I think. See, since you touched upon this faceless assessment in income tax, I wanted to also ask you the question in the reverse way. How difficult is it to do representation without actually making a representation? How do you handle this? Because many people are struggling with this faceless representation these days. If you can give some tips and tricks on how it can be handled.
There are two ways of looking at it. In the earlier days, like I said, you go to the officer's room, you say that, okay, this is the issue, you explain and get things done. So this was easier for so many people. You don't have to have your craft in hand. Just go there, explain, whatever the officer asks, you come back. But the importance of litigation has taken manifold, in the sense it has assumed a larger importance in the faceless regime, mainly because this is where a craft of a litigator comes. In a 142 notice, say a reopening, in the case of a reopening notice, you have your 148A notice first. You need to reply to that, because at that stage it is possible that you can stop the 148 itself to be issued. Suppose there is a question stating that you had purchased property, explain the source. We find that you have not filed a return of income, therefore the source is not there. So you ensure that you give your reply for the source. You say I have taken bank loans, or you say I have regularly filed return of income. You explain the source. And please note that this 148, again, it's all of us must be aware about the decisions rendered very recently in the context of FAO versus JAO. The Madras High Court had, and so many other courts have held that the notice to be issued under 148A must be that of the faceless officer and not the physical officer. I'm just taking an example from first level. And this has been litigated, and the department would also come up with the retrospective amendments today stating that up to 148 notice, it is only the physical officer and not the faceless officer. After that, it will be the faceless officer. The regime, this is what has been clarified in the amendment, as you might all know. Prior to that, this ground has been taken up at every stage. 148 notice, 148A notice and 148 has been issued by the physical officer, which is not right in terms of section 151. 151A, if my memory is right, on who has to issue the notice and conduct the proceedings. So, in such a case, and of course today, like I said, the budget has come and it has taken a retrospective amendment also, like it is the physical officer who would give you the notice initially. So, you have at this stage, you have a chance to say that I have given my source, I have given my reply for the 148A notice. Therefore, you can please drop this 148 proceedings. So there is a chance for you to end it there. And you also get to meet the officer and you can explain it to say that this is the source. It is very much possible that the officer would not drop this and take it to the next level, which would obviously be only the faceless regime. This is where, like I said, your craft comes in. Your drafting should be in such a level that it embarks on the factual position. When a question on a source is asked, you say that this is the source and this is the relevant document. Like you said in the beginning, you don't dump all the documents to the officer. Even in your reply, you need to specifically say which page number of your index of your paper book typeset you are referring to this. Or take a case of cash deposits in your bank account. Suppose you want to rely on stating that the withdrawals or the source for the redeposits. Please highlight your bank statement and then say this is what it is. Some people have this habit of putting a lot of case laws right from the beginning. Even at assessing officers level, you think that by giving case laws, it can be solved. So at AO level, the strategy should be in such a way that you explain the facts, keep the relevant documentation in place, point out where exactly your document lies, because like I said in the beginning, he has so many cases to see. If you're going to add 25 attachments with no context, you have given your explanation, but you're not able to relate it with the documents, obviously you're not going to get a favorable order. So it is necessary that you also mark and give in which page this is being relied upon. So that efficiency will help you in having a nil order at the assessing office level 1. So this is when it comes to tagging and marking your documents. Secondly, like I said, facts.
Interestingly, in the recent Safari retreat decision from the Supreme Court, this has been specifically mentioned in the Supreme Court order. Brevity is the hallmark of advocacy. So they have mentioned that every council has dumped us with so many case decisions. It's impossible for the court to sit and read all these decisions.
Like it is always stated
there in
that
the court order, Supreme Court order.
5 judgments is better than 50 judgments.
Exactly.
5 relevant judgments is better than 50 judgments which are, see for example, we have been handling a case on 10B. 10B non-filing means the non-filing of 10B within the time limit, you have a disallowance. If you look at the research part of it, you will have at least hundreds of cases stating that 10B can be filed belatedly. Not filing 10B means doesn't mean the disallowance, but you have to necessarily pick and choose those cases which are in tune with your facts. Your facts could be in such a way that you have filed 10B only at appellate level, but you might be relying on a case where 10B was filed during the course of filing of return of income itself. So it is important that we pick and choose the right cases. So research has a very important role, pick and choose the right cases. So just to complete it, you give the facts of your case simply, connect it with the documents, 1 or 2 or even 5 judgments which are most relevant to your point. Pick and choose the exact wordings of the judgment which will help your client, put it across and make a prayer to allow your appeal or not to make the addition. So it should not be very sketchy of one page. In courts we have seen many times, even in tribunals we have seen, the replies will be very sketchy. You say, we had source, Asi has been filing a return of income for so many years, he had source, attaching the bank statements. No, this is also not the way to reply. You say, then reopening is bad in law, 148 bad in law, everything you write in detail and give 40-page submission to an assessing officer. That, of course, if the issues are so much, suppose 15 issues are picked up, you don't have a choice. You have to make it. So take a conscious call based on the issues that are being raised and give. And at this point of time, because we touched upon reopening, I also thought it is important to make use of RTI, Right to Information Act. Because when it comes to reopening, and certain jurisdictional aspects, say, take for example 271D or 271DA notices for penalty for dealing in cash, 269 SS, ST and all, etc. You can make use of RTI and collect so many documents to find out what is the information that was in possession of the department. I think same goes with your GST also when it comes to inspection and search and seizure, things like that. So
Reason to believe should be recorded.
Reason to believe should be recorded in writing. And even when it comes to 132 search, also reason to believe must be recorded. Of course, the amendment came sometime in 2016 or 15. I'm not able to recall.
17, it's a retrospective amendment from, I think you're referring to the income tax.
Income tax, where they said,
amendment
other than the court, nobody can ask for the reasons
record. The explanation clause was inserted in
where they said, other than the court, nobody can ask for. But that 132 reason is a different thing. I am talking about, because 132 might come, I don't know about GST, the frequency of inspection and search.
There is no such similar amendment in GST, interesting.
I'm asking about the frequency of search and seizure, but when it comes to income tax, it's always tied to the big clients or the large taxpayers only, where they find that after 2 years they find out, okay, there could be a possibility of evasion of tax, search and seizure comes. But I am trying to say that for your regular client where 148 is a possibility, every client of yours may have a possibility of 148, how you can effectively make use of RTI. Ask for the information. Ask under which, because 148A, if you see, there are at least 4 clauses. Only if it is fit in that particular clause, you can ask for, you can reopen the case. So ask under which clause it comes, whether the sanction has been accorded properly, when did they even dispatch the notice? Because even dispatch, we have certain Gujarat High Court judgment where it should be out of the power of the officer. That notice should have gone out of the officer's hand. Only then you can call it as issue. But, and again, I can go on by saying about issue versus serve. Serve is when you get it, and issue is the moment the officer stops the power in his hand to issue the notice. That is when it comes in. So we also ask for dispatch register. Of course, it has become redundant in certain cases when it comes to faceless, because all the notices are either there in the tab or sent by email. That is there. But nevertheless, when exactly did they push it in the portal? That question could also be asked. So make use of effective use of RTI. And like the initial question that you asked is how it is different in faceless. Your craft becomes better. You have clarity in what you want to give, and you point out where exactly the problem lies, so that you make it easy for the officer to drop the proceedings. And at the same time, if the officer chooses to do it otherwise, it will help you in your appeals. So we got the chit here.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think that gives a very good perspective when she mentioned, again, it's the dual perspective. Irrespective of whether you have faceless or with, a need to face the officer, always the way in which we are going to craft our response, it should be as if it's a faceless adjudication or a faceless assessment that is going to happen. So never think of writing something having your client in mind or your department officers in mind. Nobody should come into our mind. All that is required is, this is a case that is given to me. It's like, இந்த வசூல் ராஜா லோன் வரும் தெரியுமா, இந்த கையை வச்சு நான் வந்து நிறைய பேருக்கு ஆப்ரேஷன் பண்ணியிருக்கேன், பட் கேன் ஐ டூ இட் ஃபார் மை டாட்டர்? பிகாஸ் தட்ஸ் வென் அ டாக்டர் ஹேஸ் டு ஸ்டார்ட், கீப் aside all your humanity for a time being, because end of the day what is in front of you is a human body. That's the way we have to see it. That's the way we have to see a show cause notice. That's the way we have to see the order.
Going back to the basics, independence and professional.
Exactly, it's going back to the independence, right? So we should not be to be precise, we have to respond, but we should not react. Reaction is totally unnecessary. I mean, but what really happens is that we get so much carried away with the reactions, how the client is going to take it, how the officer is going to approach this, what happens if I'm not able to conclude it at this level. See, all these questions are coming in front of us. That's not the way in which we have to draft the responses or draft the appeals. So what is important is, do not let your client stand next to you when you are doing the open heart surgery. Correct? The surgery is performed by you. Let them not dictate you on how you need to perform the surgery. You need to take up, you have to do it in the best interest of the client. For that, you need to know the circumstances of the client, whether he is in a position to pay the cash deposit or not. These are circumstances. But what is important is, our approach should be based on our skills and our experiences. That is exactly where our command and experiences comes into the picture. And since you touched upon this case law, see, the biggest threat today, at least in GST, I do not know, I don't think it is the case with income tax. The biggest threat in GST today is the WhatsApp circulation of case laws. I mean, the way the headlines is getting circulated with no reference or meaning to what is inside. I'll give you a classic case. Many of you would have come across, I think 1.5 years back or something, from Madras High Court, there was a decision in the case of Lenovo, wherein the case is altogether different. It is about SEZ related application, whether the time limitation is within the case or not, and what is the role of deficiency memo, etc. I read the entire case completely. But somewhere, unfortunately, in one line, the court order has mentioned that the wordings used in section 54 is may apply for refund within 2 years. And hence the 2 years limitation is not applicable, is not mandatory. Every headlines for that case law, it was circulated heavily in WhatsApp, stating that 2 years limitation is only optional. You can file your refund even beyond 2 years. That is not what the court has given. In fact, the case is not even about time-barred refund application. But today, the way WhatsApp communications are being sent across is really, a big time trouble, because as you rightly said, when you choose the case law, you need to read the entire case. Understand first of all how the facts of your case is aligned with the facts of that case. Unless you are able to make an effective alignment of the facts of these two cases, mentioning a case law is not going to help you. In fact, sometimes it could also backfire. If you are going to show a wrong case law, or rather if you are going to show a case law where, let's say, you pick up some para and then put it, but finally if you come to the end of that case law, it is actually against. I had this experience. I asked one of the person to give me a case law where there is a penalty of 25,000 which is being levied. Okay. The point here is 25,000 penalty on whom? Taxpayer or department? I asked for taxpayer, but the case law which has come to me is for, department. Or let's say if I have asked for department and it has come to me for taxpayer, what would happen for the taxpayer? You are putting them into risk. So especially when you do a case law research, kindly do not use ChatGPT. That's another biggest threat. Those decisions are not even found. It will give you with all sort of hallucination with imaginary case law references. It's biggest threat that we are facing today in litigation, even including courts are facing this issue.
Absolutely.
Half-baked information.
There was a recent discussion about this. Because give us 5 minutes, we'll wind up. The recent discussion also in Supreme Court also took place where we found that the Honorable Judge is mentioning that people are using ChatGPT and giving non-existence cases, like you said, one. Number two is that the case would be there, but the court might be different.
Correct.
It may not be the exact court. So it's fine to use AI resource for your assistance. The principle I follow when I use an AI resource is that trust but verify. So you need to verify whether the case is given by them. I think for cases we need not use ChatGPT. For proposition and cases, it's always better to go for the traditional methodology. Rather for language refining or to have a more coherent submission, we can use. But even then, I find that it is completely impersonal. It is not touching upon what you want to say. So it's better that we follow the traditional method of having our own notes and then uploading that.
In fact, when it comes to case law, you should read a lot of case laws which are against you, as much as you read the case laws which are in your favor. Because we have this tendency, I'll pick and choose what is in my favor, that alone I will copy, paste and apply. That's not what works in litigation. Litigation, more than knowing your strength, what is important is to know your weakness. knowing your weakness would be your greatest strength, especially in litigation. You should know where your weakness lies and where the department's strength lies. If you are able to effectively handle that, that is more than sufficient when it comes to litigation. Quickly, I want to ask you 2-3 things and we'll close it there. Do you think being a woman in litigation is an advantage or a disadvantage?
Nothing. When it comes to professional practice, I don't go by any gender. If you are working hard, it is possible for anybody to be whatever space that they want to be. So
honestly, I felt most of the time it's only advantageous because we have somewhere,
I don't
assertiveness, right?
No, it's not about advantage, disadvantage. One thing is that once we enter into practice, there should not be any shred of bias in our mind.
Exactly.
Okay, women, there's nothing like that. See, ultimately, if you're able to compete and clear CA like a man, if you're able to compete and clear law like anybody else, there's nothing of that sort to say that, okay,
Absolutely.
you don't have to go, I always feel this, you don't have to go behind the shelter of being a woman and say that, yes, as a woman, I have achieved. Nothing of that sort. You're a professional. Put in your efforts, put in your hard work, and nobody can stop you. But of course, challenges that we face is that definitely domestic challenges we definitely have, which men may not have. Whatever could be your professional success, you could be hailed as the best litigator in the country. If your son or daughter is not doing well at home, that falls on your head only. So ultimately, my approach to a professional practice is that have a balanced approach. Be it your family or your profession, have a balanced approach, and you don't have to be A+ everywhere. If you're able to do justice to whatever role you take, that is fine. You don't have to be an overly protective mother. At the same time, you don't have to be an overly super duper woman. Just do with finesse what comes to you. And it could be a little philosophical also. But whatever work that comes to you, do it with utmost sincerity and diligence. Whatever is due to you will be given by God.
Absolutely. I think it's all about meeting the commitments that we are committing for.
Yes.
And you don't need to overcommit at all point of time. That is not required. But what we have committed for, there we need to probably give our best. And I completely agree with you on something. In fact, this is something I used to tell to every single girl or female who is going to enter at my office. You will be treated equally and please expect the same in return. You will not be treated any specially.
Yes.
You will not be given any kind of better pampering just because you are a female. If you are expecting equality, when it comes to the responsibility, when it comes to the commitment also, please take the same equality at your end as well. I think that is pretty much ultimately what we are talking about when it comes to this women empowerment equality. We are already empowered. There is nothing more to call as empowerment. Just that some of us have to come out of the shell that we are, trying to get into some kind of bubble, some kind of shell. It's on us how we want to break us, and there is nothing wrong even if you don't break it. But only thing is you need to be satisfied within yourself on how much you are breaking it. So you don't need to be a superwoman. As long as we are able to manage things with a good balance of our health also, as we discussed, overall we are doing fine. That is what is required at the end. So thank you so much.
One thing is that let women please reach out to support systems. There's nothing wrong in that. Wherever possible, make use of support system. And just to conclude, faceless boon or bane, I don't know. But for women, it is definitely a boon. At least up to the assessment and CIT appeal level, you don't have to travel much. You can just give your replies online, and at least one level of litigation you are done. And definitely tribunal also, it is not that tough because half a day of work and your day can be planned well, because the case high court is little tough because the cases keep coming. In the sense, there is no fixed date as such. The night before you see the cost list and find the next day you have a case. But at least up to tribunal, women can definitely venture out, plan your day better, and it is definitely possible. Like I said in the beginning, if I can do that, all of you can do this.
And be prepared for anything that could come spontaneously, especially when it comes to tribunal. Don't expect every day to be a good day. You need to have that, emotional balance, especially when you are facing the tribunal or high court for that matter. Don't think whatever that you are going to know, yes, you have done all well. Maybe you have put in a lot of tremendous preparation effort, but at the end, when you are going to appear in front of the, bench, they may simply say that, this is not the way in which we want to look at it.
That comes with practice. Definitely comes with practice. I'll tell you, even today, even those professionals, forget about men or women, those professionals, even who are there in the field for 30-40 years will still vouch that every day is a learning for them when it comes to representation.
Correct.
So you just go in the flow and you will get the hang of it. You will definitely get a hang of it when it comes to representation before the authorities. And please note that you may have to appear only for 5 minutes, but definitely 50 days of work might be required for that. If you're willing to put that 50 days of work, this 5 minutes is worth it, and that's your day, and that is when you get a confidence.
Correct.
I always tell the juniors also who wants to say that I want to go and represent right from day one. Please do your desk work properly, chamber work properly. Your representation will often happen automatically.
Correct.
Because this is where your grounds are built. So without taking much more time,
I think this
we'll,
profession, we
now-
can do it easily, because when we have the audacity to fail for 3 times and then clear the CA final in 4th attempt, why can't we fail for 3 cases and then win the 4th case? That is
Not
still
at the cost
doable.
of client.
Of course, see, but I mean, if the client has to lose the case, the client is losing the case.
No, I think
but
in such
the
a
art
case,
of advocacy also matters.
I think in such a case, it is better to, if you have a high stake matter that you don't want,
you have to
the client
involve a
face,
senior,
get involved
engage
a
a
senior
senior.
and keep moving, and 3-4 cases you will learn how to do it on your own. So
Exactly.
all the best to everybody. Happy Women's Day, and let us keep pushing our limits. Let us come out of our comfort zone. Let us do our best, keep giving our best, be sincere, and I'm sure God will definitely reward us with what is due to us. All the best to everybody. Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful session. Thank you SIRC for this one, and thank you Saradha for chairing this session.
I think I must thank you, because I always have a deep admiration, especially from the day I have seen you doing it in the moot tribunal. You are one of the assertive and confident person that I have seen you in the tribunal as well. So thank you for having you next to me. Thanks to SIRC, thanks to Revathi ma'am also
It's
for
a
having
mutual
us here.
admiration and respect. Thank you. You also do a lot in terms of knowledge sharing when it comes to GST laws.
I think that is
So-
something we have to keep doing. In this profession, knowledge sharing will give you the more. I think this year, International Women's Day, the title itself is Give to Gain, isn't it? The more we give, the more we gain. The more we are willing to share our knowledge, I'm sure automatically the professional opportunities will come to us.
Anything for that matter, the more you give, the more you get. Time, money, knowledge, whatever it is. That is a philosophy that at least I think that I thought I'll share. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. To both of you, your guidance on approaching authorities and managing proceedings will certainly benefit many of us in our professional practice. So thank you to the speakers for sharing valuable knowledge. And as we come to the close of today's program, I now request CA Pramod Ramohan Hegde, Secretary SIRC, to propose the vote of thanks and hand out the memento to CA Sharda. Thank you.
Well, it's my proud privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this August gathering. Firstly, happy International Women's Day. And I just thought I'll take 2 minutes. Of course, I know I'm standing in between lunch and you guys. And they've shared quite a lot of knowledge, which is probably overflowing. And just to say few things. One is that, I'm privileged more because today is one of the first big event of the tenure which I take over. And it represents Women's Day. And we always call or term women as Shakti. During my chairmanship in Bangalore as well, my first program was Women's Day. And that led to my successful tenure. And I think the same goes here as well. And to be honestly, I'm ready to accept that my support system are women, be it my mother at house, at wife, or be it in my office. And during my chairmanship as well, I had a secretary. The secretary was a woman, and with quite a lot of efforts, we did quite a lot of contribution to the, with the profession. And secondly, I was just hearing her, and we always had a debate. At Bangalore chairperson and me always fight over it. When the Women Empowerment Committee was formed, we always used to debate. Women need not be empowered; they are already empowered. So that's when even the committee changed, and it is Women Excellence Committee, which is now. And definitely, even in the leadership roles, yes, of course, we do have women. Of course, you can see back-to-back 2 chairpersons in Southern India Regional Councils were women. And of course, my due credit goes to the women in the office bearer also. Firstly, our treasurer currently, CA Deepa Vargish, and of course our past chairman, CA Revathi madam, and of course we did hear Rekha as well, CA Rekha. So this is what is the women leadership at this council level, and of course let's acknowledge CA Shripriya, who has been the vice chairman of this committee. And with this, I would like to say just a closing line. Please do take care of your health. That's the reason we just thought we will have that done, because women always are the caregivers and they neglect their health. So with this, I would like to conclude and thank you, and a special thanks to our resource person who have contributed a lot to this day. Thank you very much, madam, and thank you everyone.